Lead attorney here. I hope you guys are doing well on this Thursday evening. It's evening, right? It's evening over here on the East Coast. I'm in Atlanta. I am an attorney, a family law attorney, divorce attorney. Been practicing about 20 years. And today I want to talk about whether or not men should get married. And I want to do this show a little differently. What I want to do is to have people call in, and I want to hear y'all's opinions. And if you have questions for me, you can absolutely call in and ask me your family law questions, whether it's about divorce or marriage, child support, child custody, modifications, all of that, all of that. You can absolutely call in and ask me any type of question that you have if you want some information. And as well, I would like to get a conversation going just with the just with the community, man. I missed you guys. I haven't been able to post very frequently, but I'm going to start that up, man. I'm going to ramp it up. So I have put the link. I have put the link to the show. That's what you want to call it. This is a new format, guys. We're just relaxed today. We're just relaxed today. And it's just going to be free flowing. And hopefully I will be able to get some of you guys on here and let's just talk about it a little bit. Let's see what's going on. First, let me see. What does Chet say? Chet Perry. Chet says, if he's extremely wealthy, probably not. If she's extremely wealthy, probably he should. That's interesting. That is interesting. And listen, if you get married to Oprah and you're a man, there's not a lot of downside to that, right? At least on the financial side. So Chet definitely has a point there. Oh, look who we got. We got the young prince. The young prince in the house. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, young prince. I have put the call-in thing on the chat. If anybody wants to jump in, and oh, we got Michael in the house. Michael. Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you, Michael, and thank you, the young prince. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Is it beneficial for men? Is it beneficial for women? We know how these divorce laws are, but what about the marriage itself? You really don't hear anybody standing up for marriage these days. Are there any good reasons to get married, or is marriage just dead? Is it just dead? What do you think? What does Tracy, man? Good to see you, Tracy. It's like, man, I was wondering when you post again, you slacking. I know. But I want to try out some new stuff for you guys. Oh, who do we got? Excalibur in the house. Shout out to Excalibur. Shout out. Hey, the link is in the chat for anybody who wants to join in. You don't even necessarily need to show your face, man. Let's just talk. I want to see what you guys think. And I want to compare it to what I think. Most of you probably haven't handled divorces for 20 years, but you've got your own personal experiences, and those mean a lot. A lot of you have children, right? Some of them are 3 years old, 6 years old, some are 17. What are you going to tell them about marriage? What are you going to tell them about divorce, particularly if they're sons, right? Particularly if they're sons. What are you going to say to them? I want to hear you guys. Just being jazzy. Okay. How are you doing? He says, hey, lead attorney, how are you doing? Just being jazzy. Great to see you. Great to see you. Who else we got? Rich Blackman. Of course. All right. Oh man, thank you so much. I just got a KT Excalibur. Excalibur just sent me a coffee, man. It's hot. Take a sip for Excalibur. Thank you so much, Excalibur. I really appreciate that. Just sent me to cash out. Just cashed out your boy up. What does G-Man say? I wouldn't want to marry an American woman. I wouldn't want to marry an American woman. What does that mean? Does that mean that American or non-American women are less likely to divorce you? I was on a stream yesterday or one of these days, and someone asked me if a foreign national, if someone who was not a citizen of the United States, particularly the question was if someone was a legal permanent resident, so not a citizen, just a legal permanent resident, just someone with a green card, could they divorce you, and would they get the same treatment? And the answer is absolutely yes. If you have a woman and you marry her and she has a green card, she will get treated like any citizen. In fact, if you marry someone here and they are not a citizen at all, they don't have a green card here at all, they are undocumented, they don't have permission to be here in the United States. If they divorce you, and they will get the exact same treatment as a citizen. So you are not necessarily, you're just not protected. If a person does not have legal status in this country, they will receive the exact same treatment as someone who is in this country legally. And if you marry someone who has a green card, and you were the one to process that green card, and you sign the affidavit of support, I don't want to get too into the weeds, but if you sign the affidavit of support to get that your wife her green card, then you will also be on the hook for supporting her and keeping her at a minimum income level until she gets her citizenship or completes other requirements, and that can go on for years. So it's kind of dangerous to divorce someone when when they are not a citizen, when they are just a green card holder, and you've helped them in that process. You've signed the affidavit of service. So that is that's an interesting question. Or what G-Man says about don't marry an American woman, or not marry an American woman. You can marry an immigrant, or you can marry someone who doesn't have legal status in this country, and it won't necessarily help you for the divorce. So that's interesting. What else we got? No, my man Jose. Shout out to Jose. Rivera. My man says no, 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 not with these laws. And I hear. What is Tiffany? Tiffany Joyce says prenup. Listen, guys, and this needs to be factored in. Someone said, well, if you marry someone who has a lot of money, then you should get married. But if you don't marry someone that has a lot of money, then you shouldn't. But how does a prenup get factored in? Right? How does that get factored in? We got my man Gary in the house. Shout out to Gary, man. The $10 super chat. Thank you so much. Salute lead attorney support for the platform. Thank you. I need it. So I appreciate that. We have our first guest in here. Let me add the guest. We're changing it up, people. We can have more than one guest at a time. So let me see if we can do this. All right, we got The Truth. Is that right?
Oh my God. That's right.
How are you doing? The Truth. Is nice to talk to you.
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am doing well. We are just relaxing here on a Thursday, being a little bit informal. If other people want to join the chat, come on in. I'll paste the link down here. What do you think, The Truth? Do you think that men should get married today? Are there benefits? What do you think about it?
Okay. Before I say anything, I just want to thank you for all that you do. You're an amazing attorney. You're doing a great job, and you're doing a lot for the community.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So what I want to say though is, men need to educate themselves a lot before getting married. In the Western culture, in America and countries like America, in the third world countries, it's not so bad because the law doesn't really penalize men like it does here in America. Like here to go after you, they could arrest you, take your driver's license, take everything. They take your wages and all that. But in third world countries, it doesn't really happen like that, right? So people could go away. Like men could run off from their families and not have to worry about paying child support or anything like that. So
have you lived in a third world country where that's been prevalent? I was on a stream recently, and someone was saying that in Nigeria the divorce rate is like 1% because the power imbalance is so different.
So I'm from Nigeria.
Oh, okay. So you know about it.
Yeah. So I know about Nigeria. So whoever said it's 1% that's not really accurate. That was accurate back in the day. Those numbers are going up now because the whole feminism is catching on in Nigeria and Africa as a whole, and slowly, gradually. But it's still low. I mean, it's probably like in the 20% range. But at the end of the day, there's no, you don't, women are not really encouraged to get divorced because, you know, most women there don't really have jobs, right? So you have more unemployment with the women. So there's a benefit to be married to be married for them over
Mm.
there. Now, over there also, if you do get divorced, you're not most likely not going to get child support.
Oh,
You're,
really?
yeah, and you know for sure you're not getting the house. I mean, you'd be lucky to get the house, right? You'd be lucky to get the house. You'd be lucky to get the car. And the only women that tend to get those type of benefits are the wealthier women that can already afford to do things on their own anyway. So, you know, even if they do get divorced, even if they don't get all those things, they can go out there and rebuild their lives and do everything for themselves. But the poorer,
Interesting.
yeah. So the poorer women, the women from the lower class, middle class, I mean, literally, some of them get sent back to their parents' homes, and you know
Wow.
they get kicked out, and or they actually just leave on their own.
That's
Now,
super interesting. Mm-hmm.
yeah, but typically, to be quite frank, typically when you see a woman leaving her husband in Africa or in Nigeria in general, it's usually due to some real abuse. It's not like what you have out here in the West, where you know you have these gold diggers. I'm sorry to say that, but there are gold diggers, and all they
Mm-hmm.
want is, you know, they're just looking for the right time to cash out. You know, something like Dr. Dre's wife. I mean, I don't want to say that, but that's kind of how I feel about it. You
Right.
know, it's like they're just waiting for the right time to cash out, and when that moment hits, you know, either they divorce you or they basically do whatever it takes to make your life so frustrating that you end up divorcing them because it's just not, you know, it's no longer feasible to live in a household that's just full of acrimony and just you know, disrespect.
Right.
So what I want to say is I think it's beneficial for men to get married if they are fully educated about the negatives.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you are ready to lose everything that you build during the marriage and to restart from the scratch, if you're ready for that, then go ahead and get married because it is quite possible. I mean, you're talking about 50%, you know, you're flipping a coin. So it's a, you know, 50-50 chance that you might make it, and there's a 50% chance that you might not make it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're ready and you know the huge risk that you're taking, then yes, go ahead and get married. Now, if you're a very risk averse person, like if you're really afraid of taking that risk,
Mm-hmm.
then do not get married because the power tilts so far to the women's advantage in this country that you are literally at the whims of her emotions.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a big power imbalance. You're exactly right. I would love to talk to you more about these divorces in Nigeria. I think that's super interesting. Chaos Rain, got Chaos Rain in the house. What do you say, Chaos Rain? Thank you for joining.
Yes,
What do
thank
you
you.
do men benefit in marriage these days? What's your opinion on this?
Well, how I look at marriage in America is it should be for the purpose of building a family, eventually
Hmm.
leaving some wealth if you can, and to have children to eventually pass down some legacy. So, in regards to the men, not just black men in America, it does benefit to a degree because without it, let's be honest, if you go what we want to call the shacking up route,
Hmm.
the only thing you will have is because you're gonna produce children, shacking with a woman, is you're gonna leave children. And most women nowadays are gonna look for some resource and they're gonna go to the state to put you on quote unquote child support.
Right.
And as you know, the attorney, this is one of the biggest issues amongst black men in this space is the child support, not marriage. Because most men, rather than marry not getting married like that. So the second best thing that you hear him complain about, even one brother named J.I. talking about this financial portion nonsense.
Hmm.
What's the purpose of that? You want to neglect your responsibilities if you knock up this woman or this so-called black beep. You get me? That they keep
Yeah.
reiterating. And you talked about this on countless shows that I've been watching since I was introduced by O'Shea Du Jackson. He did a stream on him. And I didn't know there was a black man that deals with it. Matter of fact, to be honest with you, I didn't know they have what they call divorce attorneys.
Right.
I thought they had lawyers for small things. I know they had a lawyer for divorce and stuff. So look how the information and resource we have here is priceless, bro. That we should not be fighting other brothers that's in the field, telling you how to go about it properly. You hear complaints all the time say the prenups don't work. Here's from this stupid dude from that you were having complained about. What you know what I'm talking about, right? Someone said
Right.
Judge Pro out. No, you don't understand. Everything runs through a process, a system. Remember that book you had? And I never asked you where I can get that book because it's very vital to have certain
Which book is that?
It's called the contracts, the prenup. This thing to look at what the judge looks at once you come to divorce, that they look at this book and say, well, they'll divvy up the assets. I think that's a book you hold up. It's like a week or two. Yeah, like a white
okay.
book in front. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I see
you
what
get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. And let me take a step. Right. And what that actual book is, it's just the statutes of family law. And what I was comparing it to is if you put marriage aside for a second, guys, if you enter into a partnership, let's say you buy a restaurant and you have a partner, and so you put in your 50,000 and let's say you have a partner that puts in 10,000. Well, if you don't have any agreement, any partnership agreement, the judge is going to split all the profits 50-50, even though you put in 50 and your partner put in 10. But if you have a partnership agreement, then the judge is going to use the agreement that you made to decide how these profits are going to be split. And maybe since you put in 50,000 and your partner only put in 10, it's not fair for the profits to be split evenly. But if you do not have that partnership agreement, then the judge is going to pull out his own little book, which is the book governing on the laws governing partnerships, and the judge is going to use that book to determine how things are going to get split up. Well, the same thing happens with divorces. You know, if you enter into a divorce with someone and you have your own prenuptial agreement, which is like a partnership agreement, your prenup says, hey, this is how we're going to split all the assets, all the debts. This is what we're going to do. But if you do not have that prenup, the judge is going to say, don't worry. And the judge is going to reach out and pull out his own little book. And that book is going to be filled with divorce laws that say, hey, everything's going to be 50-50 or in a way that the judge himself deems fair. And you're screwed because you are not being governed by a book that you created. You are not being governed by a book that you control. You can have your marriage or your divorce governed by the ways that you wanted it to if you would have had that prenup. But most men don't do it. So I totally agree with you, Chaos Rain, that if men believed that these prenups work, which they do, which they absolutely do, then they would be much more protected. So I definitely think you're absolutely right about that. All right. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Okay. We got Jose, my man Jose in the house. How are you doing, Jose? It's great to talk to you.
Oh, hey, can you see me? How you doing?
Yes, I can see you. I can hear you. It's great to talk to you. What do you think, Jose? Do you think men are benefited these days in marriage? What's your take on it?
Well, the other individual you were talking to, I pretty much agree with what he said in some ways, because, well, first of all, we are a country that we're supposed to believe in faith, okay, and we believe in theology. Okay, you already know that I was in Saudi Arabia for many years. Okay, and we built out of that foundation. But the problem is that you see, the politicians, they always talk about that they believe in Christianity or whatever their religion belief is, but when it comes to the law don't reflect what they're saying, because in my opinion, women are taking advantage of the law against us. And that's the bottom line up front.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, and I'm feeling it. I've been here. I've been there before. Okay. I divorced here in Georgia. I was at about what, 30 years ago. And so I already know how it goes. And am I going to face that one day? And the way I see it, because I remarried again, and I can see that they are well informed about their advantages. Okay,
Yes.
I'm gonna tell you why. Because you see, it's easy to Google or use any online tools for them to get the necessary information they need to for them to be aware of. They are aware of how the law works in their states or in the U.S. in general. So that's my take. When it comes to is it benefit the men? If the couples are into that faith that we talk about, it's
Mm-hmm.
beneficial. It's a honorable marriage is honorable, but the problem is that the law is putting fear in men. I have a son that my son, when he see what happened to me, he's like, oh, wait a minute. Hey, daddy being in this mess now, and hey, I don't want to be on that. I don't want to be in there. You
It's
see what I'm saying?
true.
So now he put the brakes. You see what I'm saying? He already eh,
Right.
let me put the brakes on this because uh men was not in fears back in the days because you see uh women are taught to be a partner to the man.
Mm-hmm.
But you see now the women's mindset is totally different.
Yeah.
Women, they just want to do what they want to do, put it this way, and most of the time.
I
Okay.
totally agree. Mm-hmm. I
And,
totally
and, and
agree.
they play you the game. And I hate to look, I'm gonna be straightforward. They're gonna play you the game. They're gonna be like I'm gonna be cool with you, but they can be cool with you for 10 years, but it's gonna take only one day to say, you know what?
They're
You
gonna
know what I'm
be
saying? I'm gonna
more.
change the channel from channel 1, channel 2. Oh, no, no. Give me the papers. I'm out of here. But I already know that I'm entitled to this. I'm entitled to this. I'm entitled, all that, man. I'm telling you, that's how it
Absolutely.
is. But
Absolutely.
let me comment about the guy that you read a question about this guy that he said, I don't want to marry an American woman.
Uh-huh.
Let me tell you, I was a contractor overseas for more than 10 years. I can understand in one way why some men, and this is including African Americans, because many African Americans work overseas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and some they were date an Asian woman. Why? Because Asian women are taught to be, uh, to be servant to the man. It's like they are taught to be honest to the man. They are taught to be right, doing things right. To
Mm-hmm.
be a good wife. I'm telling you that I met some Asian woman. They would be dedicated to you. But you see, the American woman, they don't think like that. All they think about is party, how they can get money from you. You know, if you go on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
what do you see? Even married women taking about 1,000 pictures. I got it going on. Look at my house. Look at this. You see that? Come on, man. What did that
Yeah.
tell you?
It's a lot. It's a lot of people on Facebook seeking attention. I totally agree with you, Jose,
Yeah.
in that aspect. And also, you said a couple of things that I thought were super important. You said one of the things that you said was that women kind of know the deal going in. They they might. You said they might look up on Google and say, "Hey, what's my situation?" And it seems to me that guys just do not do that. Guys
The
have
guys are
access.
not doing that.
Yeah, the guys
That's
have
true.
access to Google too, but we go into a marriage thinking all about love and about faith, about
Right.
obligation, responsibility, sacrifice, and we go into this marriage with our nose wide open in this fantasy land type of thing, and then our partners, our fiancés, our wives aren't
There's a lot
necessarily
of Beyonces out
they're,
there. That's right.
they're
That's
not
right.
so
Because
they're not
that's
so
what it is.
romantic.
Beyonce, J Lo, Cardi B, everybody, all these. I'm gonna tell you what. All these wives, the way I see they dressed up, like you say, they just want to be like them. I
Yeah.
mean, they want to be. First of all, they want to be married, but at the same time, they want to do what they want to do, right? And then when you like, hey, wait a minute, why are you spending the money on my money on this? Well, they're like, well, I'm married to you, so I got it. I'm entitled to this, and I'm gonna do this. And if you don't like it, there you go. There you go. Then you're gonna put the card on the table. The joker deuce. Boop. There it is. I'm gonna file for divorce, and this is what I'm entitled to. Man, they are
Yeah.
ahead of us. They are ahead of us when it comes to that. And like you said, men need to wise up. They
Yeah.
need to get into the social media and I'm talking about a social media that will get objective information, not subjective information, but objective information about what are the consequences. Okay, so I don't say the word what the consequences. You need to be aware of how judges, right, on how the family law is affecting men.
Absolutely. And let
And
me
also for
give me
yeah,
1 second, Jose. Let me address this
yeah.
super chat right here by JJ. Says,
Go
Lee
ahead,
Attorney,
JJ.
you pop my expat dreams, passport bros. Like, listen. Let me tell you guys something. And this is not to put down any Americans here or anything else, but I do want to address this though, because I see a lot of brothers talking about passport bros and get your passport ready. And I as just as a man, I have experienced some differences in cultures, and we had the brother the truth here talking about relationships in Nigeria. We got Jose here talking about relationships in overseas, and it's true that wherever you go, cultures are going to be different. I remember I was living in Mexico for a while, and I went on a date. One of my very first dates, because I was living there, right? So it's not like I was just visiting. And so I said, well, now that I'm living here, I need to figure out what's going on. And I remember there was this kind of quasi friend that I had, and I took her to breakfast, to say, hey, what's really going on. And in Mexico, when you order orange juice, right, they'll bring you your glass and they'll bring you the glass for your girl or whatever, but they'll also bring you it's like a jug, right? And so the jug is filled with your orange juice. So you just pour your orange juice from the jug, from the glass jug. Well, I had drunk my orange juice, and this girl reached across the table, grabbed the jug, and just like filled my cup up. And I was like, that has never happened to me ever in the United States, where a person is so attentive, right? Now, am I saying that American women are not attentive to their husbands or to their boyfriends or their dates? No. But I saw for myself that in different countries, men can be treated differently. So JJ, I want to number one, thank you so much for your super chat, number one. But number two, I don't want to pop your expat dreams, because it's a lot of expats out there that are really living some fantastic lives. And let me say, a lot of women too. Guys, you might not know this, but I found a channel. I'm going to do a whole video on this, guys. I found a channel that is called it's called the Ugly Girls Club, and you can look at it on YouTube. And it's about this woman who considers herself ugly, and she's just started a club, and it's almost like a MGTOW type of thing, or it's where she doesn't want to talk about beauty anymore, and she doesn't want to be judged on her beauty. And other women who consider themselves ugly, they don't want to be judged on their beauty. But just like, let's say, a lot of men can't get women because they only make $9 an hour and they feel like they're not in the game, and so they go MGTOW. There are women kind of doing the same thing. And some women who consider themselves ugly, as let's say in the Black community, maybe they might go to Africa, and they might get a whole different sector of man, a whole different type of man that they could not get in the United States. I was watching O'Shea Duke Jackson's channel recently, maybe about a couple of weeks ago, and he had a woman on there who was an African American, but for some reason she was dissatisfied with the way that things were going here, and she moved to Africa. I think she moved to Nigeria or Uganda, somewhere, and she was getting way more play than what she was finding in the United States. So I think it goes for both genders.
Yeah.
But I mean, JJ, I think you're definitely onto something about.
I will say this. I'll say this to a lot of Black men that have no luck with women in America or have the issues with American women. That's why you see them saying they are going their own way or saving themselves, because they feel since they cannot get the outcomes here or compete for the pull women, whether they're overweight or not, they take their luck or their talent somewhere else for a week or two, get a different result, and you see them come back home smiling, happy, and throwing it into the women's face that, oh, I got a passport, I got power. Just like the women say, I go out there and get some, dick outside of here. At the end of the day, it shows that if you're a person, if you cannot be able to compete or socialize properly in the environment you're in, then by all means, you are defeated already. Because the one element a person should always be able to is to master their elements. And that's what's lacking with a lot of people.
I hear what you're saying, Chaos Reigns, but I disagree. I disagree. So, for example, you take LeBron James, right? LeBron James is one of the best basketball players of all time, but I don't think he can play soccer very well. I don't think he can play baseball very well. There are the vast majority of environments he will not thrive in. He just won't. But he has found an environment where he can thrive in. And in fact, he found an environment where he can be elite, where he can be world class. And that's where he goes and that's where he stays. I don't see him like Michael Jordan trying to get on the White Sox, baseball team. He's staying right where he is, where his bread and butter is located, and he's milking it for all it's worth. And so if you yourself, not you, Chaos Reign, but just a person, if you find yourself in an environment and it is not working for you, I disagree that you just need to stay there and tough it out. I think that you need to go to an environment that is beneficial to you. And I'm saying this because I see a lot of Black women doing this. I live in Atlanta, and Atlanta is one of the worst places for Black women who want to date Black men because there are so few, relatively speaking, Black men who are successful. And there are just tons and tons of Black women who are successful.
I'm in Atlanta.
There you go, right?
Near in Atlanta, yeah. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, so you'll get Black women who are like, hey man, we got to go to DC, we got to go to Austin, we got to go anywhere, but we cannot stay here because we are fighting over too few men, and the men that are here are just running through all of us because they have all of the power. And so women also can change environments. I'm a big believer in that this world is so big that if you are in an environment, if you are in a space that does not favor you, there is no shame in that. But you can find a space that will favor you. I, as a divorce attorney, I represent men all the time that are in a terrible environment, which is known as their house, their living rooms, right? And what they need to do, they need a change in environment. And what hurts me is that a lot of times I'll talk to these men and they'll be telling me about their situations, and they'll say, yeah, me and my wife, we've been sleeping in separate bedrooms for the last 6 years. Well, what the hell is that? Those are 6 years that you were not being fulfilled. You don't have a lot of 6-year segments in your life. You really don't. Life is so short. So instead of spending one 6-year segment or 2 6-year segments fighting in an environment that doesn't favor you, get out. Just like that movie with the Black dude and the teacup and the woman, like just get out. So I think that's
the location. That's the thing they call the sunken place spell.
What's that?
Place when they do that. The sunken place is a spell.
The sunken place. Yes. If you find yourself in the sunken place, get the hell out. Get the hell out. Don't try to be He-Man. Don't try to be G.I. Joe. Don't try to necessarily stick it out. There are environments that will favor you.
Yeah. If I may, lead attorney,
absolutely.
I just wanted to add to my earlier statement, just to clarify. I'm not saying men shouldn't get married. I'm saying, one, you got to look at two things. First thing is if you have educated yourself about the laws and about the possible outcomes, yes, definitely go ahead and get married if you're willing to take that risk. Primarily, if you are going to be considered the breadwinner. If you're going to be the primary breadwinner, definitely educate yourself and make sure that you're aware of what the consequences could turn out to be. Nobody wants a divorce, but it happens, and it can happen. Then number two is, if you are not the primary breadwinner, and both of you are quote unquote equally yoked, making around the same type of money, well, yeah, definitely go ahead and get married, because at the end of the day, if
There you go.
if that marriage ends, you're not going to be on such a losing end, because you're both going to end up, kind of leaving what you came with.
Totally
And
agree.
that
I agree
tends to
with JJ
be,
on that one.
yeah,
I
and
agree
that
with
tends
JJ.
to be an equalizer for men, because that tends to, unfortunately, I don't like to generalize women, but generally women tend to believe in hypergamy. And so if they feel like they're not going to gain anything from divorcing you, they're more likely to stay. So if you're both equally yoked, earning around the same type of money, definitely go ahead and get married, because they're not going to be encouraged to divorce. But if you are the primary breadwinner, please educate yourself, and just be prepared, because you just never know. You could be the next Dr. Dre. You could, and I mean, the list goes on, but that's pretty
Yeah.
much what I got to say.
No, I totally appreciate that clarification, Truth. I don't know if it was necessary, but I'm glad you said it, because I agree with everything that you said there. Everything. All right, we have, and I'm sorry I can't pronounce this name, Wynora Nam. I hope I'm saying that right. You can build a family without a contract. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. When you say build a family, that makes me feel like you're talking about some kids. And you cannot build a family with kids without a contract, because there's a social contract, right? There are these laws that are going to kick in. They're going to come into play when you start having children with women. And one of the things you're going to find out is that your children, in a lot of ways, just aren't yours, right? They're yours while they are allowed, while you're allowed to have them. But if you get a divorce, a lot of times you'll have to spend, tens of thousands of dollars just to get 50-50. While you are married, your wife is kind of allowing you to live in the house with your kids. But just like Jose said, it could be a random Tuesday and she come home and she looks at you and said, you know what, I'm getting a divorce. And now you're seeing your children every other weekend from 5 p.m. to 5 p.m. and you got a little Wednesday dinner from 5 to 8. And so you realize what's yours and what's not. And you can't convince me that something is yours that can be taken away and you can only have quote unquote visitation. If someone can take something from you in an instant and now you can only visit with it, it really kind of wasn't yours in the beginning. And so when you start building a family, you have to realize that these laws are not favorable generally to men. And you guys do not understand, some of you guys just do not understand the fight that you will have to put up just to get 50-50. And let me just take a little time to talk about this too, because a lot of women will say, oh, well, he didn't fight to get half custody. He didn't fight to get 50-50 custody. I don't think a lot of people really understand what that fight can mean. That fight can mean spending $30,000 in your divorce, $50,000, $70,000, and you can spend that $30,000, $50,000, $70,000 and you can absolutely lose. It's not where you just spend $50,000 and because you spent the money you won. That's not how it works at all. I mean, you could spend $100,000 on your divorce fighting for these kids 3 years, 4 years in and out of court, and then you lose. And so now what? Now you're $100,000 in the hole. Now you're having problems paying your child support because you got all this child support now that you don't have 50-50 custody. But because you got this $100,000, you're missing your payments on your child support. And now because you missed some payments, now there's a child support arrearage, there's back child support, and they put interest on it. And now that they put interest on it, you're even more in the hole. And so now you keep missing payments, and now they put you in jail. Now they suspend your license, so now you can't drive to work. Now you've lost your job. You can fall so far. A lot of men will get 8,000 in, 10,000 in, and just give up. They say, listen, I don't have the money to spend 30,000 and then lose. And then maybe I've lost my license or I'm in jail. I'll just stop. I see where this is going, and I'm just going to stop now because I don't have any guarantees after spending all this money that I'm going to win half custody, not full custody, half custody of my kids. And then the mom will laugh in his face and say, ha ha, you didn't fight for your kids. I'm going to tell your kids when they're older that you didn't fight for, right? And it's like you almost never hear of a situation where the wife is the one who has to fight for half custody, right? If a mother has to fight for half custody, it means that the mother is on meth. It means that the mother is touching these kids. It means that the mother is in and out of jail. It means that something has gone terribly wrong with the mother's life. Whereas you can be just a normal guy, have a good job making 60 years, 65, and you can absolutely have to fight tooth and nail and go into debt just to get half the time with your own kids, right? So when you say you can build a family without a contract, maybe if you want to say a law isn't a contract, then fair enough. But whenever kids are involved, you guys really need to understand that it's a huge issue. All right, give me 1 second. Let me acknowledge a new, and of course it's the Steel Curtain. Man, shout out to the Steel Curtain. I really want him to call in if he can. Shout out to the Steel Curtain. Who else we got? Shout out to Esteban Ferreira. Shout out to Esteban. Thank you so much. And more people can call in if you want. More people can call in. Does anybody already on the show? Do you have anything to say?
Did you get Alfonso?
Oh, let me see. There are a few more. Sorry about that. We got Colin. Colin in the house. What does Colin say? I would never get married because I know my worth. Okay. Plus, I have a business to focus on. You got a man that's on his purpose right here. I hear that. I did not. Did Alfonso leave a? Did Alfonso leave a? Oh, I know. Oh, here we go. Oh, I got another one. Steel Curtain, man, just blessing me. The Steel Curtain is blessing me. What does he say? Marriage is an outdated construct today and rewards bad behavior of the offending party, whilst the non-offending partner is unfairly sacked legally. The sad thing is the government collects either way. Man,
how about that?
Curtis says the government's got you covered and going. That is exactly right. Yeah, right. And Jose totally agrees. And we got W. Alfonso, man. Shout out.
Lead attorney.
Thank you so much, W. Alfonso. Yes, sir, Jose. What do you got for me?
Yeah, I was getting ready to say the comment about constructing, right? You was talking about children. You talk about the wife saying, you didn't fight for my children. I had that conversation with my firstborn when I divorced the first time. That conversation came after he was an adult. He was already 18, 19 years old. Because he asked me that question and I explained everything to him. See, at the beginning, children, they might think also that, but daddy's kind of like he don't want to see me, or they got this perception. See, because mom tend to they spend time with the children. It's like, well, you know what? Your dad, he don't really want to, he don't want to mess with you. He don't want to pay attention to you or whatever. He try to make it seem like, your dad basically just like he don't care as much I do because I got custody. I'm with you, so I care about you, right? But then when he turned 18, 19, and 20, now he realized that, wait a minute, I thought that mom it was everything, but mom it was not everything. Now I know my dad. Now my dad, I realized that my dad really cared more than I thought. See what I'm saying? Now we get along better and we love each other better. And now he's like, you know what, mom, I love you, but now I love my dad more than ever. See, now the children can see
exactly
when the situation. And also the other part is you talk about Halle Berry, that he talks how many years to reduce that child support, and she's a woman now. Imagine that if it is a man. So
exactly,
if she was a man, because you brought it up. Yeah,
she never would have got it. That is so true. We got ROJ in the house. She says, "Yay! I made a live stream. Would someone fill me in on who is being interviewed? I am interviewing everybody, the whole community, If anybody wants to come on in, welcome. We're just talking about anything. We're talking about marriage, the benefits to marriage. Should men get married? Is marriage relevant today? I think so far we've heard that men can benefit from marriage as long as they have the information and they take the steps necessary to protect themselves.
I have an important question to ask you, Lee Attorney.
Yes,
I
sir.
know this is the first time I jump on your panel. Is it because how the men feel today that it was important that you had to sit there re-educate us about the marriage and the ins and outs, a little bit, not just much, just enough? Because I've noticed with a lot of black men in the manosphere, they really think in America they're not going to take that greater risk. And I understand, I feel it because of the laws here. But at the end of the day, as a man, you have to understand risk and reward. And I think with a lot of risk and reward, a lot of black men don't like to take risks no more, bro. You get me? They don't take risk on anything. So when I hear about this is what's going to happen if I decide to go all the way to get married, I get it. But as a man, you know, I've taken a few risks in life, you know, just try to be better economically, a little bit. You get me? So I had to always think that if you're a person, if you're not willing to risk anything at all, then really to talk about something that you're not going to get partake, that's irrelevant to you. It's you hear about the bad boogeyman about what this hat says. Woman, if she will, how am I guarantee she's going to stay and go? There's no guarantee in life. You get me? As man, we should not be thinking about that. That's why you must understand what your laws, where you stand, what things that you could make a trade-off and what you can't, and move accordingly in this environment. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not saying that what a man does, a woman does, if they can't get the mate here in America, they go somewhere else. That's fine. But at the end of the day, as long as you're in a certain space and environment, you must understand environment as best as possible. You get me? And I think a lot of us, a good portion of Americans, don't do that because we're very complacent and lazy. We don't understand laws in our normal state. Hell, we don't know who's running for our government. So it tells you worry about other bigger things and you're not even connected into the system at all. So that's why I can't really, I understand, but if you're not really into the thing, then you can't complain. That's my thinking.
Yeah, I totally agree with you that it's basically a cost benefit analysis. What I worry about sometimes in this manosphere is that a lot of the people that are in it are, you know, they're 42, they're 44, they're 46 years old. They've been married, they've been married twice and divorced twice. And so now if you ask a 46-year-old who has been divorced twice, if you ask that man, you know, would he get married again? I mean, he's going to say the benefits to him getting married are so low because he's already been married twice. He's probably been raked over the coals at least once. He's 46 years old, so he doesn't have the energy that he had. And he's already been there. He's been there and done that. He's not going to get a lot of benefits. The problem that you'll have, though, is a lot of these men will say, you know, don't ever get married, don't ever get married. But they're talking to, you know, 24-year-olds. And 24-year-olds are so different. Maybe their cost would be so much, or the benefits to them would be so much better because they still have the energy. They haven't been there. You know, maybe their relationship can be successful. So instead of men saying, you know, you should never get married under any circumstances, something that no one on this panel has said, I think a better way would be, like you said, Chaos Reign, to really know what the cost benefits are and then know how to protect yourself, know the legal underpinnings under this marriage and divorce system. And that way you can make your own decision as opposed to listening to a man who's, you know, 50 years old and been divorced 3 times and telling everybody don't get married anymore because those two men are in 2 different places in life. 2 different places.
Here's the weird thing. I do want to add before the next guy speaks this, that women are very much organized and they are fully aware and they read enough about certain laws and stuff where a lot of men we should be better at. I mean, if your mom has to teach that, be around certain black men that will guide you, or a certain woman that you could trust that will got you back in that aspect. Because we all know women, they will protect what is theirs. Just like if someone makes more money than a man and they get married, hell, they're going to do everything necessary to keep what's theirs.
Absolutely.
And you got YouTube playing in the background, Steel Curtain. You got to turn the YouTube off. We all know.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree that women will fight for what they want, fight for what they need to get. Hey, Steel Curtain, can you hear me? Can you mute yourself for a second? We all know. Perfect. So I totally agree with you, Chaos Rain, that men really need to empower themselves. Hey, Steel Curtain. Can you hear me? Let me see if I can. I'll
You
mute
might have to
him.
mute him.
Yeah, okay. This is my first time doing this too, so I'm still trying to figure it out. I totally agree with you that women fight for what they want. And I see that this can be a whole nother video. You guys are giving me ideas on videos. This is a good thing because so many men go into these divorce trials half-stepping and just trying to play nice and just trying to do the minimum. Whereas women come out, bombing, right? And immediately the man is on the back foot in these divorce negotiations and these mediations and these trials, and men suffer because of it. So if men were more aggressive when it comes to, for example, trying to get half custody of their kids, but from the very beginning and not letting anything slide, men would be a lot more successful. Let me get my man Esteban Ferreira. Shout out to Esteban, man. Always supporting the channel. Now I got him on the chat. How are you doing, Esteban?
Pretty good. Can't complain.
Fantastic. What do you think? Do you think that men today, do men benefit from marriage? Are there reasons for a man to get married? What do you think?
I mean, the ideal situation, you marry the perfect woman, right?
Yeah, it would be nice to be able to find the perfect woman. That is true.
But, you can date a woman for 10 years. And this goes with men too, like you can date somebody for 10 years, 20, and still learn about that person, like you're never gonna fully know that person. And things change, kids change you, there are many things, career-wise, education. They're all factors that will affect, or will cause an effect on the relationship. Now you're making more than me and making less than you. There's always going to be a thing. Now, yeah, I mean, do you want to be alone for the rest of your life? No. Ideally, you want to get married. It's going to happen. I always heard that, from many people. No, don't get married. You're too young. Don't step on my shoes. You don't want to feel them. But it always happens. It's part of life. If that was a mistake and you got married, I mean, too late, right? You just gotta deal with the consequences. The storm is gonna keep coming, and you just gotta ride through the waves.
That's true.
I mean, we are here because of similar situations, right?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I think marriage can be really beneficial, but a lot of times we might need to kind of redefine what a good marriage looks like. I think the vast majority of people would say that the ideal marriage, a great marriage, lasts forever, right? It lasts 40 years, 50 years. But I think if you guys talk to divorce attorneys, I think we have a very different idea of what a good marriage is. A good marriage can last 15 years, a good marriage can last 17 years. A good marriage can end in divorce, but it was still a good marriage, right? Sometimes it's not like you have 16 great years, you have one bad year, that bad year ends in divorce, and now the whole marriage is thrown out the window. It maybe one perspective would be, hey, if we had more good days than bad days, then maybe that's a great marriage, especially if the man and the woman were kind of equally yoked, or if the man and the woman had a prenup to where no one's getting raked over the coals on the back end, and the divorce isn't nasty. The divorce is like, hey, let's just go on our separate ways. It's fair because we're kind of at the same socioeconomic status, or because we have the same, or because we have a prenup. So no one's getting screwed over in the divorce. Everybody's protected. And we had, these 8 good years, these 10 good years, these 16 good years. Maybe we had a couple of kids and they're doing great now. They're going off to college. Maybe that's a successful marriage. And if so, then maybe, a lot of men can get a lot of value out of that marriage. It's interesting. Well, what do you think about that, Esteban?
Yeah. it's all a matter of perspective, right?
It's exactly right. That's exactly right. We might have to redefine what it means
Yeah,
to get married. What is Waldo Garcia says, I believe most men want to get married and build a family, and I agree.
I
Mhm.
I have to agree. I mean, there was a period of time in my life where I will cry myself to sleep. Yeah, I will have my flings here and there, but I will feel alone. You know, and that's
Absolutely.
part of it. I thought that having a family would fulfill me, and it did. But
Mhm.
there are factors that change over time, and things happen. Um, do I think of getting married again? Well, not for the moment. I mean, I'll
Mhm.
probably take a hiatus, like a big break from.
Right. How old are you? How old are you? So
I'm
you've already, uh-huh. How old?
33.
33. Okay, yeah. So you're still young. You're still young, and you were married and divorced one time.
Yep. Well,
Oh yeah,
that's the process.
in the process. Okay. Well, you got another marriage in you, I think. If you're if you're 33, you definitely got enough time, and you've learned. I'm sure you have learned a lot
I
about. Mhm.
especially with the legal area, right? I mean, I the first time I got served, I pissed my pants. Like what the hell do I do now? And
Ex-
I'm going through the court, and I piss my pants either way because they don't do shit for me. But
Oh, that's exactly right.
it's
What
just funny the way it works, right? I mean, child support, custody, it's all BS. It's called jail. I mean, who has visitation over their children? They
Yeah,
just need.
it's totally crazy to me.
Yeah, I
I
mean, a case number could be their inmate number, and you just have visitation rights here and there, right?
totally agree. Totally agree. We got Jahan Blueford says a couple of vids ago, lead attorney stated there's 3 marriage pillars. Pick the right person, treat that person well throughout the relationship. Third, get lucky. Not doing number 1 and 2 leads to the Bow's barrel. Yeah, like listen, guys, let me give you the perfect formula for having a successful, the great marriage, right? First thing you need to do is you need to have the ability to pick the right person, right? Which is difficult, granted,
Mhm.
because people change. The second thing you need to do is to be able to make good decisions, right? So, for example, did you get a prenup, right? Did you treat the like Jahan Bluever says, are you treating your person well? Are you knowing how to be a leader in your marriage? A lot of marriages get derailed because men do not know how to be leaders in them, and then the wives end up taking over, and it's a disaster. And then the third pillar, the third part is, you got to get a little bit lucky, right? If you can get a little bit lucky and pick the right person and make the good decisions in your relationship, that is the recipe for a fantastic marriage, a great marriage that will benefit you more than really anything else. It's not like you can go out and buy an expensive car or even an expensive house, and that will be able to give you the value of a great marriage. And a great marriage is just going to be something that's on, with having great children, great relationships. Material things really are not going to be able to give you the sustained value that a great relationship will. So I think those are absolutely the steel curtain. Those are absolutely the ingredients for a great marriage. Let's see what the steel curtain says. Fighting for your kids in court is a tireless and costly venture. I
Mhm.
spent thousands before successfully winning full custody of our
Congratulations.
kids.
That's good.
It's an extremely uphill battle.
We gotta get on the
Yes.
cake.
Shout out to the steel curtain, man. Trying to win full custody from a mother is it's so hard. It's I don't want to call it impossible because it's not. But the mother it's such a dogfight, and the mother really has to be in a bad way. She really does. Let's go to here to some of the some super chats. We've got Greg O. Thank you so much, Greg O. Schools don't teach money, marriage, law, and government. It's deliberate. It's easier to lead sheep. Totally agree with this. Some of the most fundamental things that you would think people would learn, they do not learn in schools. You're
Right.
absolutely right. Absolutely right. We got the King of Spades in the house. King of Spades always showing up. King of Spades, you can call in if you want to, man. You can call, anybody can call in. If
Mhm.
you're watching and you want to call in, you certainly have you can pull up a seat to the table. So thank you so much, King of Space, for always, what did I do? Always coming in. We got Colin in the house again. Thank you, Colin. Says, I have a quick question. Does a guy who sells dope on the street, do they have to pay child support versus the 9 to 5? The answer is yes, technically. The answer is yes. It's kind of like taxes. You know, if you are a dope man, if you are a drug dealer or involved in any other illicit activity where you are making money, let's say you're a bank robber. You know, if you're a bank robber, you have to report the money that you steal because that's income to you, and you have to pay taxes on that money. Similarly, if you deal drugs for a living, you have to report those drug dealing profits to the government, and you have to pay taxes on that money. And similarly, if you have a child and you are making, you know, $20,000 a month selling drugs, you have to report that $20,000, and you are going to be on the hook for paying child support out of that $20,000 or based on that $20,000 amount, right? So this is a great question. If you do report this, of course, and of course nobody does. Nobody reports this at all. But if you do, that would kind of be telling on yourself, not only criminally, but it would look very bad for you in terms of you getting some type of visitation. Because even a good dad can be stuck with visitation of only 20%. And so if you're, you know, making big money, 20 grand a month selling drugs, you might not get any visitation at all, or you only might get standard or supervised visitation. And if you get reduced visitation, then that could make your child support even go up further, because they can say that you're not spending an adequate amount of time with your child, which means that the mother has to spend even more time with the child. And because the mother has to spend more time with the child, she has more costs now. And so you need to compensate her for those extra costs. And so, yeah, that's a great question. Any money that you get, whether it's through overtime, whether it's through bonuses, whether it's through commissions, whether it's through gambling, you go into the casino, whether it's through any type of prostitution, whether it's through drug dealing, any type of money, any type of income that you get, you generally have to report that. So this is a great question, Colin. Great question. We got Dr. Thunder in the house. Dr. Thunder, salute. We got Gail in the house. Dr. Thunder, please join in if you want to. Anybody can join in. I think we're putting the what do you call it? The
link.
Thank you, Jose. We got the link in the chat. Who else do we got?
The StreamYard link, actually. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Was it? Okay, we got Waldo. They'll force you to get a job or charge you the minimum wage because you're able to get a job. I think I missed the context of that. But yes, if you are unemployed, the state really is not going to allow you to pay no child support because you're unemployed. What the state generally is going to try to do is figure out how much you are capable of earning. So if you are unemployed right now, but you had a job 6 months ago where you were making $85,000, then the judge is going to look and say, hey, you were able to make $85,000 6 months ago, so you're able to make it now. I don't see why you can't make it now. So even though you are unemployed, I have a tendency to want to set your child support amount at this $85,000. And I'm going to do a video.
I guess that probably may be debatable in some situations. Lead attorney, correct me if I'm wrong. Remember, that was overseas, and overseas you make those 6 figures, but a judge cannot make me to, hey, go back overseas and continue to do this 6 figures. But in some countries, you cannot stay there forever because they have a different stipulations when it comes to the job. For example, in Saudi Arabia, there is a stipulation where they say, hey, a company, let's say, for example, if you reach 60 years old, you have to leave the country. Or in some other countries, they say, hey, the country is only good for 2 years. So you're going to make those 6 figures in 2 years, and that is that. I think what you're saying is, if, for example, if you're in the States making $80,000 consistently, right? You know, you're capable to find a job, but then all of a sudden you quit the job, and then all of a sudden you're working as a what as a coach in on a spa, whatever. Then maybe that would be a different situation, no?
Absolutely. And one certainly there are child support modifications. And if you have a good reason, then the judge will listen to that reason and decide whether or not to modify your child support. So if you're making, you know, 200,000 as a contractor, but then you have to leave, and then you can explain to the judge, hey, judge, you know, I was working in Saudi Arabia. I can't work there forever. The judge is going to say, okay, those are extenuating circumstances. We saw so many men get child support modifications last year when they had all of this pandemic going on. Some of the judges were just handing out modifications to everybody because, you know, no one really knew what was going on. Everybody was losing their job. The whole world was losing their job. So those were definitely extenuating circumstances. So if you can show the judge that there's an actual reason, you know, maybe you're an NFL football player and you're making, you know, $5 million a year, but you get in a car accident and you lose your leg. Well, there's no NFL running backs in the league with only one leg. So if there are extenuating circumstances, the judge will look to see if there's a reason to reduce your child support. And if you can give a good reason, a lot of times the judge will do it. So you're absolutely right about that. Trey B says most men may want to get married, but men understand the risk involved. Be lucky to last 15 years. Yeah, a lot of marriages don't last the full lifetime, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean there wasn't a good marriage. But you say men need to understand the risk involved. Yes, and that's really the problem, that most men do not understand the risk involved. They don't want to understand them because they think that everything is going to work out in their favor. So that's absolutely right. Question. ROJ says, why is it said so much that you don't want to be alone when you get old? And the answer is marriage. Why can't an Oprah or Kurt Russell type relationship be good enough? This is a good question. And I will say this, you know, and you ladies in the chat can correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. But if you talk to a woman about what are one of her biggest fears are in the future, it used to be before, you know, let's say you could just go back 2 years ago before all of this dying alone stuff kind of got blown up in social media. But I remember 2 years ago, a woman will tell you off the rip, just immediately, that she does not want to be alone in her old age. She doesn't want to do it. So when you ask the question, why is it said so much that you don't want to be alone when you get old? That actually comes from women. Now, it needs to be said that a lot of women are doing great these days. They have great jobs. They got their kids. You know, they can get some pets. You know, I know that's kind of derogatory in some circles, but it's absolutely true. And it's honestly, you know, a lot of men do not have a fear of getting old alone. A lot of men, that's not a high concern for them. And so if that's not a high concern for women, then I totally understand that. But to answer the question, and so your second question, why can't an Oprah or Kurt Russell relationship be good enough? I think it absolutely can be. But when you ask, where did that whole women don't want to die or get old alone, where did it come from? To be honest, ROJ, I think it came from women. Because you could, you know, 2 years ago, honestly, I don't think you could find even one woman on the street out of 1,000 that said that she's looking forward to getting old alone in her old age, just in her own home, you know, and she falls down the steps and now she's just, you know, waiting for her daughter from Minnesota to come visit her, is to pick her up, you know, in 2 weeks off of the floor. You didn't see that at all. Now, you know, now that this popularized that, oh, you know, you're gonna get old alone, some women are pushing back on that. And, you know, that's good, because just being old when you're alone does not mean that your life is going to end tragically. But to be fair, I think this sentiment actually came from women themselves. But yes, that's a good question. We got Annie in KC. What does Annie in KC say? So true. I had 2 really great marriages full of love, laughter, and good memories. The last 5 months in a divorce cannot diminish that. Yes, this is what I'm talking about, guys. This is what I'm talking about. Maybe we need to redefine what a great marriage is. Maybe a great marriage can absolutely last 13 years, especially if it's between two people who are mature, two people who are not going to try to seek revenge, two people who realized, hey, you know, we loved each other back in the day. We still love each other, even though the situation has changed now, even though some circumstances have changed now. No one's cheating on anybody else. We've just grown apart. That's part of the human condition. We are all going to grow. We are all going to see things differently. Now we're not too happy with each other, but maybe going our separate ways, we can find continued happiness. Maybe we just don't have to suffer for another 15 years. So shout out to Annie and KC. That's excellent. That is excellent. I totally agree with this. Totally. What does Janet B say? If a man finds that woman, they will forget about she taking half of his stuff. On the front end, yes. On the front end, yes. If the man is so enamored, so in love with a woman, it's not like he will forget about her taking half of the stuff. He will believe that they're going to be married forever, so there's no possibility of her taking half of his stuff. But at the end, this is never the case. Well, yeah, this is never the case where a man feels so in love with a woman that he wants to give her everything. I will say this, though, and divorce attorneys will tell you this: there are not a number. I mean, there are a significant number of men who will just give everything to the woman. The woman will say, "I want, out of 10 things, I want 7," and the guy will say, "Take all 10." Take all 10. And you usually see this with guys who have cheated and they feel bad that they've cheated. And they'll tell the woman, listen, just give me anything to sign and I will sign it. So this is absolutely, that's absolutely a thing. That is absolutely a thing. So I don't think that a man forgets that he'll take the, that she'll take his stuff. I just think he thinks that it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. So, but thank you for this. What does the steel curtain say? My system froze, so I had to shut it down. Man, you can come back on in at any time. You can come back on in at any time. Anytime. What does Jalon Dixon say? The majority of women are not going to let you lead. I don't know, but some women will and some women won't, right? And that's the case. And then some women will let you lead as a person, but then won't let other men lead. And then some women that will not let you lead will let another man lead. So it just depends, I guess, on the person, and it depends on the woman as well. We got Deacon Dave in the house. Deacon Dave in the house. Great to see you, Deacon Dave. And again, if anybody wants to call in, please, you're welcome to do it. You're welcome to do it. What else we got? Who else we got on here? What does Janet G say? You have to pay taxes on drug dealing? Oh, yeah. In fact, that's how they caught Al Capone, I think. That's how they caught some of the biggest mobsters. It wasn't because they were taking out all these people. It wasn't because they were setting up all these assassinations and, the Tommy gun and all this other stuff. It was from taxes. They were like, hey, you were running all these guns. You were extorting all these businesses. You got all these millions of dollars. You didn't pay. You didn't report any of it. So that's how these people, the Teflon Don, that's how he was taken down. He was taken down on tax evasion. So yeah, this is definitely a way for the state to get you. Definitely a way. K Cross, what does K Cross say? It's not hard to get. I gave my ex full custody because I don't know how to raise a man. Well, K Cross, I have 2 responses to this. The first one I'll start with the second one. When you say it's not hard to get, I don't know what you're talking about, but I hope you're not talking about custody, because it is extremely hard for a man to get even half custody of his children. And sometimes that's a fight that will cost a man $100,000 So it's extremely difficult. But what you say, secondly, you say, I gave my ex full custody because I don't know how to raise a man. Like that is something that only an extremely mature person would do in terms of putting the children first. And I will be honest with you, K Cross, most men are not in a relationship with a woman who will do that. Does it happen? Yes, but it's in the minority of cases. And because it's in the minority of cases, you don't see it that often. You don't see it that often. And when you don't see it, it's an absolute dogfight. It's an absolute dogfight. But shout out to you, K Cross, for putting your son first. That is absolutely awesome. All right, we got Big Dewey. Am I reading that right? I can barely see the name. Big Dewey in the house. How are you doing?
Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you fantastically. Am I pronouncing your name correctly? Big
Yeah,
Dewey?
it's Big Dewey J. It's Big Dewey J.
Big Dewey J. Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, thank you for joining the stream. What do you think? Do you think that men benefit from marriage? Does marriage still have a place in today's society? What's your take on it?
To be honest with you, I don't know. Personally, I was thinking about, going the whole MGTOW route, going my own way. But I'll be honest with you, I love women, and it's a dream to be able to settle down with someone and have kids, and I think that a lot of men who say that they're going MGTOW would also admit that they would want to settle down with someone and and have that family, because it's just such a beautiful thing. I know somebody right now who has 3 kids with one on the way, and he's pretty much in heaven, and I don't blame him. But the thing that I look at, that I see with a lot of women, and I know there's some people who say that I don't know what I'm talking about because I've never been married, this, that, or the third, but this is still something that I have observed. It seems like women have no problem demanding so much from men. One thing that I have realized is that many times, even when you step out the door, you be, just amongst people in society, you're obligated. If, stuff was to go down, women expect you to be the one at the front for their protection. I mean, even as a boy, you're taught to pretty much be disposable. And for all that is required of you as a man, it seems like you're not respected. And that's the only thing that I sit here and look at. A lot of women say that they want to be married and they want this, that, the other. And I'm not the person that sit here and believe that a woman is supposed to submit to a man, because again, I'm not in this. Is one of the things I say often. I don't try to sit here and act like I'm a father. I don't try to pretend that I'm a father, but I do have girls that I do care about genuinely. I got little nieces and cousins that I genuinely do care about. And so I have to sit here and ask myself, could I look at them and tell them that they're supposed to submit to the authority of a man? No, I don't believe in that. But I do believe that you should be able to walk with your partner. And walking with your partner actually entails respecting, a measure of respect, knowing that that person is doing everything that he can for you. And it's just over and over again, I see, especially with women, it's like they do not respect their man. And, that does not mean, they have to get on their knees and, kiss the ring or kiss the, or I don't know, for a better term, lack of a better term, of maybe kissing their behind. I hope I know there's a better way of saying it, but I don't currently know how to say it. But it's just respect. If you require so much of him, why is it that you can't respect him? That's the only thing I have to sit here and say. So many women just do not want to give respect to a man who's going out doing everything he can and come home and still trying to do everything he can in the house, and you still have no respect. I see this with older couples, couples that are supposedly in their silver years, all the way to people who are my age and younger. It's like, it is completely okay and fashionable for women to be completely disrespectful to men. And it's like, we're supposed to just be okay with it and take it. And so that's the reason why I have such a fear. Even I have issues just working with women, because I have noticed just working with women where they have absolutely no problem disrespecting me. But if anything was to happen, you know, as much as, say, even on the job where some women have not liked me, if something was to happen, they would have no problem getting behind me. And these are the same people that have no respect for you. And so that's the only thing about it. I just don't see myself doing it, especially where it seems like so many women do not have respect for the men that they partner up with. That's all I have to say. I don't know if I made any sense.
No, yeah, absolutely. You absolutely did. And I think that what I see a lot of times in these divorces is a woman who has lost respect for her husband years ago. But I will say this, though. I will say this. The vast majority of these relationships where the woman has lost respect for the man, I really believe the man was responsible for that. I would say, 80% of it, 80% of it.
How?
Because
I'm sorry.
No. And I appreciate it. And let's talk about it. I'll see a divorce with, let's say, a Pookie, right? A Pookie gets married. Right?
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. A Pookie will get married, and he'll have a girlfriend in the marriage, and he'll knock the girlfriend up, and his wife will be mad, and his wife will be giving him lip, and Pookie will come to me and say, "Hey man, I need to get this girl out of my life. I need to divorce her," right? Mm-hmm. And he's the one. Pookie is the one who's seeking the divorce, even though Pookie is the one who cheated. Pookie's like, "Listen, I'm out, man. You're not going to run over me." But what I see a lot of the times from what you're talking about is where the woman has lost respect. It's not the Pookie. It's the guy making $85,000 a year. It's a guy making $117,000 a year, and he just wants to have everything cool and collected. He doesn't want to put the hammer down. He doesn't want to be the leader in the relationship. He wants everything just to go smooth. And the woman, after 3 years, 5 years, says, there's nothing to this guy. Right? He's not putting, I don't want to say he's not putting me in my place, because that sounds bad. But you see what I'm saying? There are a lot of divorces that I see where men are like, "No, I'm filing a divorce. I'm getting this lady out of my life." And the lady's crying. The wife is crying. The wife does not want a divorce. In those relationships, it's not like the woman is not respecting the man. The man's like, "Hey man, I'm not happy anymore. I'm out." And I'm telling you what I've seen from 20 years doing this.
Okay.
I know that in the manosphere right now, there's this huge thing about women not respecting men and this and that. And I agree that that's an element, but it's not the whole thing. And what I see is that when the women do not respect the men, it's because the men are softer than they should be. And it's not like these are soft men, outside the home. These are men who, a lot of them are making six figures. A lot of them are fighting in the corporate world. A lot of them are having to stand up to a lot of adversity. But when they come home, they don't want to fight. When they come home, they want, everything to be chill and relax. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. But if you give your girl too much peace, she's going to be like, I'm with a dude that's weak. Your weakness or your kindness or your yearning to seek peace can be viewed as a weakness, right? And Pookie doesn't have that problem, right? Pookie's, he'll fight a drug dealer and he'll come home and fight you. He doesn't care, right? But a lot of times these intellectual men or these men with good jobs, they will absolutely get run over in their own home. And so this is one thing that I'm telling you. And I don't want women to be painted in this corner where all of them are disrespectful, because it's just not the case. I've been seeing it for years, but I do see a large segment of men who are being run over in their own relationships. And those are the ones who have women who are disrespectful, right?
So what?
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, man.
No, you're fine.
So what are you supposed to do? Because again, it's like a catch-22. It's damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you check her, quote unquote, then you're an a-hole. And again, I don't know of a better way to put it. You're a bad person. If you don't check her, you're weak. You're a punk.
Right.
So what are you? Which is it? What are you supposed to do there?
You're supposed to set your boundaries, but you set your boundaries from the very beginning. You set your boundaries on the first date. You don't set your boundaries 4 years into your marriage. It's over then. You know, that's like you have a teenager who's 13 years old and he starts stealing cars, and now you want to put your foot down. He's already stealing cars. He's already in YDC. It's over. You can't start putting discipline into your son when he's 13 and stealing cars. It's too late. Similarly, if you are married and you're in your 4th year marriage and now you look up and you say, I want some respect, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it. But, you know, if she tries some slick stuff with you on the 3rd date and you say, hey, ma'am, that's not what we're doing. You know, I really like you a lot. I think you're attractive. This is our 3rd date. Things are going good. But, you know, I don't appreciate that. That's not you being an a-hole, but that's you setting boundaries, right?
I get it.
And this is something that's so important, but something that so many men do not know because we're not being raised by fathers. Fathers could teach us this stuff, but so many men are not raised with fathers in the home. So many men are raised by mothers. And so a mother is never going to teach you how to set boundaries with a woman. You will not get that from a mother, ever. A mother is going to teach you to respect women. A mother is going to teach you to protect women. A mother is not going to teach you how to set boundaries with your woman, ever. I don't care how cool your mother is, right? She's not going to be able to do it effectively. This is something that needs to come from a man. Now, some men have this internally. Pookie has this internally. Pookie is not putting up with any woman's BS, all right? But most men, thank the Lord, are not Pookies, right? Most men kind of need to know what leadership looks like. You know, there's this Navy SEAL, Jocko Willink, and he's making millions of dollars teaching men what leadership looks like. It's not just because what you were born and what you have in between your legs, you know how to be a leader. That's not the case. You might have the capacity to be the leader. You might have the capacity and the ability to be a leader in your relationship, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a natural leader. And what Jocko does is go and he gets paid millions of dollars to talk to these Fortune 500 companies to install leadership, to teach these high earners, these high capacity men, how to be leaders in their own business, how to be leaders in their own organization, in their own firm. So if he's getting paid millions of dollars to do this, number one, it lets you know that it works, and number two, it lets you know that there's a need. There's a need. And so when you ask your question about, you know, it seems like a catch-22, you have to be an a-hole or, you know, you have to get run over. It's not necessarily the case. If you do not set boundaries, you will get run over most of the time. That's certainly true. But you can learn how to set boundaries without being an a-hole. You can absolutely do it. We're just not taught that. We're just not taught.
Can I add something onto that?
Absolutely.
You know, to the man saying what a man should do, it's simple. You have to be the bad guy at the end of the day. See, one thing is evident what Pookie Ray have done successfully that most black men try to compare themselves about these specific groups of men is that they're very ruthless and aggressive, and they always let you know up front what they'll accept and what they will not accept. Now, I'm not saying people should take the aggressive route where it instills capital punishment, all that stuff. I'm not saying that, but there are ways that you as a man, you set precedent if you're going to start this relationship, where is this going, what you're going to accept, what you're not going to accept. And if she's down, and if she really care and love you the way you say she is, she'll be down. If not, she'll show her colors and she'll just simply walk off. You hear me? This ain't prison.
I totally agree with what you said Chaos Rain, except for your very first sentence. After your first sentence, I totally agree with everything else that you said. Let me shout out to Edwin Smith right quick for the super chat. Thank you so much, Erwin. Sorry. Thank you, Erwin. Your first statement was you need to learn how to be the bad guy. And I would disagree with that and want men to know that there is nothing bad about setting your own boundaries, right? It might seem to someone else that you setting your boundaries is bad because they can't run over you, but you should never see setting your own boundaries as being bad. That's always a good thing. It's always a good thing. And this is something that the other gentleman said. I can't see y'all's names for some reason. I don't know why the names aren't populating. Oh, I see them way down here. That's something that Big Dewey J said. Hey, you got to be the a-hole. And that's what you're saying too, Chaos Rain. You got to be the bad guy. And I'm saying no. You being a leader, you setting boundaries is not being an a-hole. You being a leader, you setting boundaries is not being a bad guy. We have to change that mentality. It's positive. It's you being a great leader, right? If the only person you're leading is yourself, you're saying, hey, I'm just going to lead myself and I'm going to make sure that me and myself are not going to get run over ever. Then you're being a great leader. And so don't ever think of it as being the bad guy. Don't ever think of it as being the a-hole, because that's not how it is at all. At all. And I totally agree with what you say, Chaos Rain. You might have a woman who says, hey man, I'm looking for a man that I need to run over. I'm looking for a man that I need to steamroll, right? And you say, well, fair enough. That's good. I'm not the guy for you, but good luck. And she says, okay, right? And you part ways. Every woman that you meet is not marriage material for you, right? Someone put in the chat that there are just some people who should not get married, and you might run into some of those people. And you got to let them go. If they don't want to get on your program, you got to let them go. And there's no shame in that. That's what women do. Women look to exclude men. Women look to eliminate men. Women are not just accepting all comers, right? Women are looking for reasons to eliminate men, and men need that more. Men need that type of perspective too. You say, hey man, I got some standards over here too. I'm not just going to accept, any pair of nipples that walk by. Not for a marriage. Right? So let's have some standards ourselves, and let's set some boundaries, and let's be leaders, and let's not frame it in a negative light. Let's frame it in a positive light. Being a leader, setting boundaries is absolutely positive.
I'm going to leave a super chat, just a donation, and I thank you for putting me on. I got one last question. I'm taking off.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you did one or not. Will you ever have like a live stream or a video where you talk about rape and sexual assault statistics, or just the issue about rape or sexual assault?
I did a video on false allegations.
That's my main. And again, I know. I apologize. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
On my channel, that's what I mostly have talked about. As a matter of fact, it's kind of a way for me to deal with what has happened to me in my past.
All right, let me jump in right here. Do you have a YouTube channel?
Yes.
What's your YouTube channel?
A Different Shade of Purple.
A Different Shade of Purple?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll be honest with you, it's not my content. I think is getting a little bit better.
Okay.
But initially it's not very good because it's me basically griping. And I'll be honest about that. But it's also therapy for me, because I'm trying to work through what has happened to me.
Yeah.
That's, I'll take that, you know what I'm saying? But I am trying to, like, I did a live stream, I think Sunday before last, and I'm trying to do a live stream every Sunday where I try to listen to the other side. I try to listen to people and their experiences so that I can have an understanding, because the thing I've come to understand is like there's this, I don't know how to put it. There's like this cross of discrimination where it's like there's racial discrimination on one side, and then on this other side, like if you imagine like a grid, on one side there's racial discrimination, and on the other side there's gender discrimination and gender issues. And there are things that men and women do to each other, and there's things that blacks and whites do to each other. and there's things that we both do not understand. And the reason why that I wanted to kind of focus on that is because there's so many problems in this country that needs to be addressed. You sit here and look, I mean, I can understand, if you need to work hard in order to get where you need to go. I don't think there's a person hardly, even if they wanted, even if they were not honest, they would sit there and tell you that you're not supposed to work in order to get what you want. But wages have been stagnant forever, and inflation is constantly rising. And here we see last year, Canada, there were states like Canada, France, Spain, and just about every other developed nation during the lockdown was able to pay people in order to get them to stay home.
Right.
Here, we barely, I think it was like maybe $1,000 to $1,200 for our first stimulus. And then it took forever, and a day seemed like, in order to get the second small stimulus, which is $600, and now they're reneged on the $2,000 stimulus that we're supposed to get, which now they're saying, no, it's not going to be $2,000, it's going to be $1,400.
Yeah.
It's part of the reason why I don't trust this vaccine, because it's like they're saying, okay, look, take this prick in your arm and get back to work so that you can make us some money. And I'm not going to lie to you, it bothers me. It's one of the reasons why I started to fall in love with economics, because I began realizing where a lot of lies have been told in politics, and people in general are being taken advantage of. And, it's something that kind of bothers me. So I said, instead of just constantly complaining about it, and again, if you go to my channel, you're going to see me do a whole lot of complaining, doing a whole lot of ranting, and some of it is not going to make any sense. And I'll take it. I will take that. I will own up to it. But the fact of the matter is that there's a lot that needs to change. And the only way we're going to be able to change it is for there to be for us to come together, stop flinging mud from both sides of the fence, and actually try to understand each other's perspectives, and not just operate within our own bubble and try to make things work, because it's not working for any of us, no matter what way you lean politically. This whole system needs to be replaced, in my opinion. And again, I believe in working. God in heaven knows I do. But there's just a lot that we can have for ourselves that can make life better. It's like I forget his name, but I think he was considered the so-called father of economics, and he said that a business sole goal is to make money. And when you look at it like that, then that means their sole goal is to try to get as much out of you as they can without having to pay you much of anything. That is not going to work long term.
Yeah, that's true. And
well, I would say this. What's your name?
Wait, let me. Is this who is this? Is this Chaos Rain talking, or who is this?
Yeah. I'll mute myself.
Okay. Give me 1 second. Let me respond to this, brother. But I definitely want to get the Trent Steele on here. He's been waiting a while. He's been so patient. Yes, brother. I totally agree with what you're saying. Once we learn economics, and we really learn kind of what's going on in the news and the backstory behind so much stuff, it all looks so shady. And I think, like you said, coming together and getting a common understanding is so important. And really, got this, guys, this is what we're doing now, right? We're coming together and we're exchanging information, we're exchanging ideas, we're exchanging perspectives. Everybody on here has their own different perspective and their story to tell. And I think that to the extent that we keep doing this, we keep talking to each other, we're going to learn, and it's going to make us all better. So I totally agree with what you said. And if I can give you maybe some unsolicited advice, I think it's awesome, Big Dewey J, that you've gone on YouTube and you're setting up your own channel and you're doing some of those videos. If you don't like some of the videos that you have, or if you think they're just rants, you can just go in and put those private and then just start afresh. When I started YouTube, I did some videos that people hated. I mean, they hated them, and I actually deleted them. I didn't know about putting them on private, so I deleted them. Now I wish I would have kept them. Not like they were good, since they were my first videos too. But yeah, that's one thing, and maybe because sometimes people will use, your old stuff against you. So you might not want to have it floating around if it's just something that you wanted to get off your chest. And making videos for yourself and getting things off of your chest is certainly, I mean, that's a great way to do things, because you don't want to keep that stuff pinned up. A lot of women, can go to their girlfriends and cry, or a lot of these women, they'll go to counseling and therapy, but a lot of guys, we just want to like hold it in. We just want to eat it. And that's what really harms us in the long run. So you having a method to get this stuff out is so important. But don't feel like you need to share that with the world. Even though it's on YouTube, you can go ahead and put that private or unlisted. If you put it private, that means that it's still on here. So if you want to unprivate it at some later point or make it public at some later point, you could do that. But don't feel trapped in keeping that stuff for everybody to see. Some stuff should only be for us. To be honest. So that's just something that I did some videos that people hated, so I deleted them myself. So don't think you have to leave that stuff up there.
All right, thanks, man. I greatly appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for coming in. Let me address really quickly AC with the super chat. Thank you so much. What's he say? The lead attorney leading the charge. Thank you. Good to see you back at it. Thank you. I know this was a long run. He was speaking about Big Dewey was speaking about the virus, and not the virus, the the shot. And I actually got it yesterday. I got the shot yesterday, and I got like these flu-like symptoms last night, probably when they were connecting me up to the 5G system, right? That's what they say that's in the vaccine.
Did you get 2 or 1?
The second one. The first one I got, it was fine. But the second one last night, I got all these chills and I was sweating and all that. But now I'm fine. Now I'm fine.
That's the nanites. That's the nanites talking to you. The nanites.
That's exactly right. All those nano robots.
We're in the digital space now. So that's what is coming anyway. But that's not far the purpose of this stream. So we want to stay on the topic as possible.
No, you're fine. You're fine. So AC says, good. Mr. Rollins just says, good to see you back at it. Boundaries or bondage. Choose number one. I love that. I'm going to steal that. Boundaries or bondage, because that's really what we need as men. And guys, I'm saying this to you not only because I see this in my professional life all the time, where men get run over because they don't set boundaries, but it's happened to me in my personal life as well. Even though, I've been doing this divorce stuff for 20 years, like I'm just a regular guy, just like y'all. And I have had very significant relationships where I failed to set the boundaries that were necessary. And it came back to bite me, right? So I'm giving you, what do they say? I don't know if some of you guys are old enough to remember that hair club for men, where the guy was like, I'm not only the president, but I'm a client, right? I'm telling you this, not only because I've experienced it professionally, but I've also experienced it personally. And this is just something. Now, I didn't grow up with a father either, so this is something that I had to learn. And like most men, when you learn this family law stuff, you learn it the hard way, right? So I have learned stuff the hard way myself. And I'm telling you that your relationships will always be better. They say, oh, well, don't say never and don't say always. No. Your relationships with women will always be better once you learn how to set boundaries effectively, and they will always be better. The Steel Curtain, man, shout out to the Steel Curtain. Me and this man, there is not one subscriber that I got that says more things. I'm just like 100%. Everything that this man, I look for things to disagree with him about, and I cannot find anything. Even the best dish that they serve at Fogo de Chao, like we are eye to eye on everything. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Curtin for coming on, man. What do you think? Do you think there's a place for marriage nowadays? Do you think men benefit from it? Should men actually consider marriage, or should they do like with so many men in the red pill community are saying, and just never get married? How do you feel about it?
Well, I think that as a divorcee, I can actually speak to this very point. I think that there in narrow circumstances, there may be a place still for marriage. I will say that. The caveat to that is the marriage is probably the most important decision that you'll make in your life. If you're on the fence and you want to get married, that is probably going to be the most important decision of your life, because it has life-changing impacts, good or bad. In today's time, the construct of marriage seems to be that, and I don't necessarily want to throw it all on marriage. I think it's the actors who get married, and their intentions, not approaching in good faith, all that kind of stuff. I think that kind of thing, that kind of thinking, can totally derail what the true intentions of marriage is, and then it allows other people with different intentions to take full advantage of it, and you in the process. So it's very important, the person that you decide to shackle yourself to, and that's important. That you need to vet that person as if you are vetting a Corvette on a car lot that you think you want to buy. We all vet these cars as brothers, and all we go out here, we get these cars. We will put it through all of its paces, do the Carfax, everything. But we don't do the same thing when it comes to marriage. Some of us. I personally didn't. I didn't do that. I screwed myself up. I won't blame it on her, but I allowed myself to be placed in a position to have marriage itself just basically come tumbling down on me like a ton of bricks. And I found out the hard way, like many of us do. And it's not for me, but I can't tell another man that it's not for them. I would just say, sit down before you make that choice. Go talk to an attorney such as yourself, and really think about that decision to marry, because it can have life-changing impacts.
Totally, of course, right? Totally agree. I think Warren Buffett, who has, who knows how many billions of dollars, certainly, let's say top 5 of the world's richest men on earth. He said, numerous times that the number one decision that a man is going to make, usually in his life, is going to be the spouse that he chooses. Right? That's the number one decision. And this is a man who's earned just billions and billions of dollars. So nothing that comes out of this man's mouth should be, taken lightly. And he's regarded as the number one investor of all time. And he's absolutely right. Marriage is so huge, and for good and for bad, because you can marry a woman who will support you through your endeavors, who will do things for you that you would not do for yourself. And we all have shortcomings. When men in the red pill community, they say, well, why should I have a girlfriend, or why should I have a wife? You say, well, a woman could do this for you, or I could do that myself. Okay, well, a woman could do this for you, I could do that myself. A woman could do this, well, I could do this myself. But a lot of the stuff men aren't doing, right? A lot of these men are pigsties. A lot of these men haven't been to the dentist in 10 years, right? A lot of these men just sit around and play Xbox for 8 hours a day, no motivation, right? A woman, the right woman, but a woman can add significant value to your life. Because I think there are very few men who are doing everything that they need to do personally and professionally. We could all use some help. Anybody who has been successful, any man that has been successful, has received some help along the way. And a wife can be just an extra source of help. And, a wife can, if you're trying to get your own business off the ground and maybe you're not at a point where you can afford an employee, she can step up and do your books, or she can step up and make some calls. She can absolutely help you out where you might not be in a position to get outside help. Two hands are better than one. Now you got to pick the right hands, right? Right. You got to pick the right hands, and like we were saying, you got to know how to lead those hands, right? You got to know how to be a good leader. But if you pick those right hands and you do what you need to do in terms of your relationship, in terms of being a leader, and you have a little bit of luck, then you will be in a place to have a successful, an extremely successful marriage. Now, I think that's less than 50%. I think your chances of getting all those three things are less than 50%. If I had to ballpark it, I would say it's in between 10% and 25%. It's probably closer to 10. but it happens. It happens. So I would never tell a man, just like you said, I would never tell a man not to get married. I would just tell a man to get the information that he needs to be able to make the decision, to weigh the costs and the benefits. And then from there, you be a man and make your own decisions. Men are nothing in this country but decision makers. You know, a man's ability to make good or bad decisions is going to determine his success. So all we need to do is just set men up to make the right decisions. I totally agree with what you're saying. Steel Curtain. Go ahead.
The other thing that I was thinking about was thinking back on my failures throughout my marriage and everything. It's like I realized that I promoted a person to a position that she wasn't qualified, nor was I at the time anyway, to hold. I was doing it because, you know, that's what I was told. That's what you're supposed to do. You want to start a family, you get married. You know, we had gotten pregnant, all that, and I wanted, you know, make her an honest woman. That whole blue pill programming stuff, I had it all programmed. I grew up single mom with mom and all that stuff. So I had the wrong mindset when I approached it, and so did she. And I promoted her to the status of wife, and I promoted myself to the status of husband, and it was just a train wreck. It was a complete train wreck, and I don't think that many of us is just not in the right mindset or the to take on that responsibility and really make it be successful, because 3 years in, 2 years in, 8 years in, it's going to fall apart. And then that's when all the court visits start.
It's true. That is absolutely right. And, you know, when you think about it, you can name anyone successful, whether it's Warren Buffett, whether it's LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Kobe, whether it's Roger Federer, Magnus Carlsen, anybody. These people are successful because they do things they've learned over repetitions. They learned what they're doing. They've learned their craft over iterations. You look at Tiger Woods, he was playing golf when he was 3 years old. And the interesting thing is that you're supposed to get married once and then just know how to be a great husband, right? Know how to have a great wife, how to maintain that relationship. If I put myself at Burger King the very first day, you know, I think I'm a smart guy, but they're going to be like, hey, lead attorney, you forgot the lettuce on here. You forgot the mayo. I was like, oh, okay. Now you let me work there a month, you know, and now I'm flipping the burgers. Now I know what the deal is. But the very first day, I'm not going to do that well. I'm going to be slow. You know, it's going to be 12 o'clock and the school bus is going to hit up 12 p.m. noon. The school bus is going to come through with 45 screaming kids. And I might get fired because I'm not making the hamburgers fast enough. And it's so interesting that, you know, we're married, you know, that very first time, and it's expected to last forever. When it's our very first experience at having a wife, very first experience of being a husband. You know, it's kind of comical to think that those are supposed to last, because what repetition have you had? What repetition have you had if it's your first time, right? You think about men in the bedroom, whenever your first experience was, you know, now you fast forward 10 years later from that, you're probably a much better lover than you were at 15, 16, 17 years old. Why is that? It's because of repetition. Well, you're a first-time husband. How great of a husband can you be, right? You get married at 25. What the hell do you know? So it totally.
I mute the line, please. There's background noise.
Yeah, it totally makes sense to me that that a lot of marriages fail just because people don't know what they're doing. You know, you take a mother who has a newborn, it's her first newborn, she's going to be a certain type of mother. But you fast forward, you know, 12 years, and now the mother's on her third kid. I think she's a much better mother with the third kid than she was with the first, because she's got so much experience. So I totally agree with where you're coming from, Steel Curtain. It's just like, man, you know, we can really make some big mistakes. And it's not because we're bad people. It's just, you know, we haven't had a lot of opportunities. We haven't had a lot of practice. You know, so much about humans is getting better over practice, getting better over iterations. And we just We just don't have that ability, you know, because marriage is supposed to be a one-shot deal.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
Lead attorney, the one thing I will say though, just even with all of that we've already been speaking about here, today's time, it's pretty dangerous to be married if the person that you're marrying really isn't in for the long haul. You just have so much more to lose. Like for me personally, I'm never personally getting married ever again. Been there, done that, and won't do it again.
What if you could marry someone with $30 million? Someone who's a 7, she's a 7.5, but she's got 30 million. Do you think that's dangerous for you?
Hell no, not me.
No, it wouldn't be dangerous for me. It would be more dangerous for her. But you know, I'm actually just so over marriage now. I guess I'm completely jaded. I just, if anyone talks marriage to me, I stop listening. It's like I go deaf in both ears. I don't care who it is. I mean, we can do everything else but the whole marriage and cohabitation thing. I've been there. I don't hate women. I still love women. I still go out with women. Don't get me wrong. Love them. I just will love them from a distance when it comes to the marriage.
Absolutely. Absolutely right. And that's what we talked about in terms of setting boundaries, right? You've got your boundary. You say, hey, we can go up, you know, I can date a woman and we could go up to this point right here, but this is where we stop, you know? And if we get up to this point right here and you say, I want more, but we've stopped right here and you want to go on another way, then, you know, you'll have to go on another way.
Kick rocks. 'Cause I'm not going there.
Shout out to Kim C. Shout out to Kim C for the super chat. Thank you so much. Also, let me shout out Gardy Dennis here with the $10 super chat. Says shout out to you for the good content, learning everything I can before I consider to get married. Perfect. You are the perfect audience for this stream because the whole thing is just to give information. We've had men say, yeah, I think I would do it again. We've had men say, I am never doing it again. Had men say, well, under the right circumstances, I would do it again. So if you're in your 20s or even 30s and you're thinking about getting married, this is absolutely the show for you. So thank you again for the super chat. We got a new member here. Thank you so much. A new member. R Bean, thank you. I really appreciate the new members, guys. Thank you. I'm gonna have some good stuff for you guys coming up. So thank you for all the new members. But yeah. So let me see. Who is this? Trenton. Is that you, Trenton? It's hard for me to see these names. Trenton, are you here? Is this Marsha? Are you here?
Yep.
Oh, okay. How are you doing, Marsha? Sorry about that. For some reason, these names aren't populating. So it's great to see you. So what do you think? What do you think, Marsha? Do you think that am I saying that correctly, Marsha?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Perfect. What do you think, Marsha? Do you think that men benefit from marriage these days? Is marriage still something that's valuable? Is there a way for men to live a satisfied life under these marriage laws? What's your take on it?
First, I want to say thank you for having me.
No problem. Thank you for coming.
I love your show.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it, Marsha.
And by the end of the month, I hope you get 1 million subscribers.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Okay.
Well, first, I've never been married.
Okay.
But some years ago, I was with an old boyfriend. Now, I don't say my ex-boyfriend because I don't assign ownership to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
But I was with an old boyfriend, and he asked me because we were like seeing, relationships get decimated, people getting divorced. This was like 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked me, he said, would you ever sign a prenup? I said, hell yes.
I hear that.
He said, really, why? I was like, because I'm in it for the right reason. I want love and I want companionship. So I have no problem signing a prenup because in the end, I don't want your money because if you ain't right, I don't want nothing from you.
You're right.
And so that was always my take. Do I think there's benefits to marriage? It can be if people are on the same page.
Right.
It can be. I don't think marriage is dead. I just think people, when they get into these relationships, they have the wrong idea. They haven't been taught. They've been given bad information. I know the guys are sour these days behind how the women are acting and the gold digging and all this old stuff. But for me, and I'm not trying to put any man down, but I'm like, inherently, you're supposed to be a man and stand up for yourself. That's the bottom line. If you can't be a man and stand up for yourself, what the hell are you doing with a woman? Because no woman out here should be leading no relationship unless she's in a lesbian relationship. No woman nowhere should be leading no relationship, whether it's a courtship or whether it's a marriage. No woman should be out here leading no relationship. And if the man can't be strong enough and stand up for himself like he's supposed to, ain't no woman gonna respect that. And technically, I want these men to stand up for themselves. Because I'm traditional, I'm old-fashioned. I want the man to stand up for himself and fight for who he inherently is. Because okay, I know a guy. Let me tell you something real quick. I know a guy that was divorced, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, Marsha, he said, we were married 16 years. He said, before we divorced, as we were divorcing, I had to move out of my home, leave her and the kids in the house. And the wife was actually cheating on him the whole time. She moved her new boyfriend into the house, and he still had to pay all the bills.
Oh my goodness.
And he said, look, if it wasn't for my dad, I probably would have been in prison or dead or something, committing suicide.
Right.
If it wasn't for his dad holding him down like that. And he had to pay all the bills while the new boyfriend moved in and wasn't paying nothing. They were just living it up.
Wow.
So, and I'm just thinking, okay, you knew your wife was cheating all this time. Why didn't you leave her? But I know men don't usually leave relationships, but sometimes you got to get up out of there.
It's true. Let me ask you this, Marsha. Have you ever been in a relationship where you felt like the man that you were with was a bad leader? That maybe he allowed you. Allowed is a strong word, but maybe he didn't stand up for himself, and you found out, weeks or months in that you were wearing the pants in the family. Have you been in a relationship like that?
Well, I was in an 8.5-year relationship over 10 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I initially thought he was a good leader. But see, here's my thing, and I told you in the beginning, I'm very traditional woman, very old fashioned. There's no way in the heck I would have led any relationship. I never have, I never will. Because I don't believe in that. And so, he had the reins. And as we dated, about a year after we started dating, I said, okay, I brought the idea of marriage. And I said, okay, so what do you think about marriage? He said, what, for you and I? I was like, yeah. And he says, right, like who else is going to be for, right? So he said, you know what? We could talk about it later. I'm like, okay, cool. So I backed off. I hadn't brought it up at any time after that.
Mm-hmm.
About 4 years later, he asked me to marry him. And then I said yes. And as I'm like, okay, let's get to planning, he got mad at me and told me he didn't want to talk about it. He was cussing and fussing and told me he didn't want to talk about it no more. And I just like, what? But you just asked me to marry you.
Right.
I know I did, but I don't want to talk about it no more. He did this 4 times in a row. He asked me to marry him 4 times in a row. The first 2 times I said yes. The 3rd and 4th time, I just looked at him like he was crazy. I was like, okay. And you know what? And like a couple years after that, he was like, why do you want to get married so bad? Why do you want to get married so bad? I'm like, I asked you a year after we got together. I hadn't asked him. I hadn't pressured him. Hadn't brought up marriage. Nothing since then. Because he and I got together in 1994. I asked him about the marriage thing in 1995. I hadn't brought up marriage since 1995.
Wow.
No,
Are you
No,
still
he-
with him? Or you said that ended long ago, right? That relationship ended long ago,
Hell no, I ain't with him no more.
right?
But but I'm not the type of woman that puts that kind of pressure on a man. I mentioned it. I put it out there because obviously you didn't say anything. So I put it out there and I allowed him to lead us from then on.
Right.
And he did not.
Right. And let me ask you, when you felt like he wasn't leading you, is that something that you feel like a man should learn how to do on his own? Or do you think that's something that a woman can kind of say, hey, I'm noticing that you're not really leading us correctly. Let me give you some tips. Or what do you think? What's your, and maybe advice is too strong a word, but what do you think a woman should do if she's in a relationship, but she's finding out that she's kind of running over her man? Do you think she should continue to run over him, or do you think they should talk and she should try to help him out in terms of being a leader, or is it over? What do you think?
Well, I think that men and women have a place. Now I know a lot of women. I'm a black woman.
It sounds
I
like you're
know.
kind of from around where I am in the South. Where are you from?
Actually, I'm from Columbus, Ohio. That's where I live. But my mother was raised in West Virginia.
Gotcha. Okay.
But what was the question again?
Yeah. If you see a woman, let's say, wearing the pants in the family, and you feel like that's not really, a woman's role traditionally, is there something that the woman can do to get out of that dynamic where a man can kind of take the reins, or is that relationship just kind of doomed?
I think it's kind of doomed, and I'm going to tell you why. Because if the man doesn't establish that in the beginning, it's a wrap.
Right.
Ain't no way a man gonna let a woman get all that power, and she sees she has all that power and control over her man and the whole family, and she gonna give that up. Ain't no way she gonna do that.
Yeah,
No
guys,
way in hell.
guys, listen to this. Listen.
But I hate to interrupt, but the thing about she is that, like, you have all these modern day women who sitting there listening to these Steve Harvey wannabes and on their show tell them you would head house and all that stuff. There's no way how the hell see a black woman want to step down as queen bee of the universe, and we see everywhere in Hollywood and movies and how we doing today in society. And sit down, it's okay that now you can lead.
Well, see, here's the thing. People listening to, and if people want to listen to Steve, I've listened to Steve Harvey. I got no problem with Steve Harvey. I don't even have a problem with Derek Jackson. My problem is that we women, we just gravitate too much to someone's words.
See, they got spurt, like you had 3 years, divorced 3 times or something like that, spurs everything. Nah. And they listen to like everything, and the Oprah Winfrey's in the world and everything like that. And
well, see, but here's the problem, honey. Here's the problem. You cannot allow women to do you that way. Men are supposed to lead. Period.
I'll tell you what.
And women, and women.
But that's the problem. That's the problem.
Wait, guys. Let me jump in, and let me just say, first of all, thank you, Marsha, for coming in. You are our first woman in the stream, and I think you really added a lot of information and a perspective that a lot of guys need. I was talking earlier in the stream about men being leaders and men really taking ownership of the leadership role in their lives and setting boundaries. And there was some willingness to view this as a negative thing, like, oh, I don't want to be an a-hole, or I don't want to be the bad guy. But, leading is not a bad thing. But this is a skill that a lot of us need to develop, because this is a skill that not a lot of us learned as a child from our fathers. A lot of us just don't have that Pookie Ray type of mentality. And that's fine if we don't have it, because usually when you're in the military, this is something that needs to be instilled in you. You need to learn how to become a leader. So there's no shame and not knowing how to be a great leader. There are millions of people learning, reading books, and taking courses on leadership. So this is something that generally needs to be learned, especially effective leadership. And so it's so great to have you here. Wait, give me one second. It's so great to have you here, Marsha, from and to give a woman's perspective and to say, hey, this leadership thing is necessary. So thank you for that. Okay.
Lead attorney, I have a question.
Wait, and Chief Cook, I know you're chomping at the bit to get in, but we had Trenton here before. Trenton, are you here?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What do you think about this? Do you think that there's a place for marriages these days? Are men benefited from marriage? Well, what have you heard from Marsha and from the others? Kind of what's your opinion on all this?
Well, actually, marriage is a beautiful thing when it's done right. First of all, kind of new. I've been watching you. The reason I actually started watching you is due to the child support situations I heard you broadcast you had. Yeah, it's very, very wise, especially being a single parent. Now, me personally, I just hit my mid-40s. I've not ever been married. But as far as now that being a man, I hit my second stride, and I'm mature enough to know exactly what's truly involved in a marriage as opposed to being a single parent. It's something I would say the best way to explain it, I'm very, I would say it's just somewhat standoff a little bit, mostly because now I can understand what's truly involved. You know, whether you have 401ks or whether you built something up for yourself, is this something that you really want to get yourself into? And for most men, I know that a lot of men, you know, some men get married in their early 20s, some get married in their 30s, and things don't work out. Okay, well, you have to rebuild yourself because 9 times out of 10 in a marriage, the woman is the one that actually leaves in a better situation than she was before the marriage. And the man has to rebuild. And sometimes you can lose a little or you can lose a lot. I'm in Texas, so it's kind of 50-50 here. But being in your mid-40s, you have to think to yourself, is this something that if it didn't work out, which you don't want to go into it thinking that way, but if it didn't work out, I would probably be about close to 60. Do you want to start over at that age?
Right.
Do you really, truly want to? Or do you want to sit here and say, okay, look, let's be sensible about this. I had this going in, you had that going in. Let's be reasonable adults in here. We'll list everything down in a prenuptial. I'll show you my list of things so you know that I'm not hiding anything also, so it won't be void in the contract also. And be sensible about it.
Totally agree.
Lead attorney, can I say something real quick?
Absolutely.
Now, look, I'm not shaming men at all for not being taught this stuff early on. However, I don't give them a pass either, and I'm going to tell you why. Because over the years, every man has seen some man go through the same stuff. I think even if you haven't been taught that early on, you've seen other guys go through this stuff. I mean,
yeah, Marsha, but here's the thing. And I agree with you that most men know a man that has been divorced. So I agree with you. But what I disagree with you about, Marsha, is that men don't talk like women talk. And a lot of men will go through divorces and never say why they're getting divorced. A lot of men will get divorced and never know that their divorce was due to them being a bad leader. So you're saying that you don't want to give men a pass for not knowing that they were bad leaders, but then you're saying the reason that you don't want to give them that pass is because they've seen some other marriage or some other divorce.
I'm just saying that, you know, over time we've all either known someone or seen other situations or been around other situations where what I'm saying is we can all learn from some of the things that other people do or whatever they go through. We can all learn from certain situations like that. Like a lot of dudes out here, they know they're gold diggers. Okay, a lot of dudes marry gold diggers, knowing full well they're gold diggers, and then be surprised when they get their shit took.
Right now,
why don't you have her sign a prenup?
Right now, that's true. That's true, Marsha. About the prenups and stuff, I agree with that. But you started off talking about leadership, and I will tell you, Marsha, that it's rare for a man to know another man who is getting divorced, and that man who's getting divorced says, "Hey, I'm getting divorced because I was a bad leader."
Yeah,
you might think that's a common thing, and it's just not a common thing, Marsha, to be honest with you. Okay, let me get these names right. Chief Cook, I know you've been chomping at the bit. What's your opinion on all this, Chief Cook?
Okay, let me add my story. I give you an example. My dad and my mom, they was 18, 19 years old. and my dad was a Navy man, and he married my mom because back in those days, you got somebody pregnant, you married her, and my dad was going to move to Norfolk, Virginia, and told my mom like we're going to move to Norfolk, and you go, and she didn't want to go, and she's like these women today. You think you get married, you call all the shots, and no, you had a house. You think a lot of these women today think you had a house, you run a marriage because so you get that ring, you can do everything. And what happened with my dad was he told you go, I go, you and my wife. I'm in the Navy. We go to Norfolk, and you go where I go. And she said no. I don't know nobody in Norfolk. It doesn't matter. You go. You supposed to go. Your wife supposed to go where your husband goes. And she told I run this. No, you do what I say. No, she one of the ladies though that when you say jump, you say people say high. And the problem is a lot of women today are like that today.
Right. And I agree with you. I agree with you that there are a lot of women who are like, hey, I've worked hard and, I've gone to school and, I've got my PhD.
Yeah.
It's exactly right. And no man's going to tell me how to do things. And I think that's fair. It's hard to look somebody in the face who's maybe, 37 years old and has a kid and, they're going to allow some man to tell them what to do. I will say this though, a lot of this actually comes down to the man, because for however masculine you find a woman, whatever masculinity level that a woman has, you can always find a man that is even more masculine. There's no better example for me than that what's her name? That black comedian. Her name is Monique.
Yeah.
Is that her name?
Monique.
Monique.
Yeah, the one that wanted everybody to boycott
boycott Netflix.
Yes.
Netflix,
Have you ever seen a woman more masculine in terms of her personality than her?
Yeah,
I've never seen.
a like that.
But she's in a relation. She was in a relationship and calling her husband daddy. And yes. So what it might be, Chief Cook, is that these women might be too masculine for you or too masculine for me. Just because they're too masculine for me does not mean that they are not even more masculine men that they can be in a relationship with.
Yeah, it's somewhat true, but also the fact is, we especially we black folk, we are a generation born by women, because government and other things, I won't get into it, but other things like they to God fathers out of home. So who's running the shop? Mom. And we have created generation of moms, they have the house, they have everything. And now we're trying to get more fathers, take care of do that place like the woman said. But the problem is a lot of women are not going to step down, take that place in, because they've been raised you strong, headstrong and everything. They are not going to step down. That's the problem we have in society. That's where you see the Kevin Samuels of the world try to tell women, you step back like that, let the man lead. He have to be Smith and do all that everything. You're trying to get high value money, things you got to do. But he's still headstrong. And a lot of women Queen Bee is not going to step down and acting like Queen Bee. It is not.
Yeah, well, let me jump in here, because you said that the woman is not going to let the man lead, and I kind of equate that to what Marsha was saying too.
Right.
If a woman has to let the man lead, then the woman is still leading. Right. So what you need is a man who's going to insist that the program that they're on is his program. Like it's not, if I'm in a relationship and I'm leading it, it's not because the woman is letting me lead. It's just that we're on my program. Mm-hmm. And so I don't necessarily agree when you say, all these women, they don't want to let the man lead. A woman, a man, if the man is in a relationship and he insists on his boundaries and he insists on his game plan being run, then either he's going to be in a relationship where his game plan is going to be run, or he's not in a relationship.
True.
right? And those are the two options. So
Yeah.
I don't really see the problem.
Well, you know what? Let me say this real quick here. I don't like it. I honestly don't like it. And these gender wars, I want to be honest with you. These gender wars women are having with men and men are having with women, I usually don't get into conversations like this because I don't like them.
Yeah.
Because I see BS on the men's side. I've seen BS on the woman's side. And so in the middle, it's like, when are we gonna take responsibility for doing the dumb stuff we do to each other in relationships? None of this stuff has to happen. And I never get on platforms and talk about gender wars and get on. I just don't do it. I never have. This is my first time actually.
No, wait. Let me jump in because you're not on a platform where we're talking about gender wars.
Well, no, what I'm saying is that's part of the problem with what you're talking about. I mean, is marriage?
No. Marsha, we're talking about understanding. There's no
What-
war to it. We just
Well,
uh-huh.
no. Well, what I'm saying is that it seems like it's now a war because men are talking about they don't want to marry these days, and women talking about they going to another country. I mean, this stuff annoys the hell out of me. Because
Right.
I'm like, it doesn't have to be this way, folks. It is not this hard. Treat your woman right, treat your man right, go into a relationship like you got some damn sense, and then we ain't gotta have the lead attorney going in here talking about some child support, prenups. We all know this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But then
no.
again,
Wait,
lead
Marsha.
attorney, you wouldn't have a job, now would you?
Well, Marsha, I promise you that you can be a man and you can treat your woman right, and she
Yep.
can still cheat on you, and now you're paying child support. Now you're losing half of your stuff. Marsha, you seem to assume that men know more than they really do. Because
Well, you know what?
Uh-huh.
Let me tell you where I get this from. Excuse me a second. Let me tell you where I get this from because first of all, I didn't grow up with a dad in the home.
Uh-huh.
But I had uncles, I had great uncles, and I had male cousins that treated us right. They're the ones that taught me how to love a man. See, I didn't have a father that could teach me that type of stuff. So that's where I'm getting all this from because I saw the men in my family do it right. And that's what and that's where right, and that's where I learned how to respect men. That's where I learned how to love men. That's where I got my side from. So that's why I'm saying what I'm saying. That's where that's coming from. But I'm not trying, like I said, I'm not into dogging men, dogging women. I'm right there on the fence. I don't lean one side. I don't lean to the other side. I'm on the fence because I'm like, this shit don't make no sense.
Gotcha. Yeah,
It just makes no sense to me.
You're lucky.
Wait.
Not like that.
Let me jump in here right quick. We got James in the chat. Welcome, James. Thank you so much for joining this conversation. Are you here? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Perfect. What do you think? Do you think marriage still has a place? Are there benefits for men these days? Kind of, what's your opinion?
So let me thank you for having me on. I've been a fan since day one, since you appeared on O'Shea Dukes Jackson.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. And shout out to O'Shea. Thank you, James.
And shout out to the panel as well. So I'm a millennial, right? And I think I would like to say this. I think the problem that we have in our community is that we still hold on to very old narratives. And that is why you still continue to see the lack of progression and so in a philosophical way amongst men and women in our community, right? So there was one time I was on Dennis Sterling's live feed, and there was a woman who continuously believed that Black men are still being incarcerated at a high rate when statistically the data proves total opposite, right? And that showed she had valued interest because she's invested in private prisons, right? So what I noticed is that when people invest in certain narratives, they hold on to it much longer than they should, and they don't adapt to the environments that we all know that from the 80s and 90s, it was a crack epidemic. Then we moved on, right? And now we have a new era where it's fentanyl and all these other things. And we have younger kids who don't know nothing about gangs. And, it's just, we have to understand that we are evolving in some shape or form. Nothing is going to be the same. As much as we bicker and say they are, it's not. And that's the thing I think where the woman mentioned about gender wars. It's just I feel like so many times when you have these conversations, people are still holding on to the more negative. And then when you look at the actual numbers, it just doesn't make any sense.
Right. Right. I totally agree. And I don't like the gender wars things either, but I do love when genders come together. Because, for example, the Steel Curtain said, hey, you know, I made a mistake in my relationship that I didn't really know about until my relationship ended. And I say, well, you know, that's interesting because I made the same mistake in a relationship that I had, and I didn't realize I made the mistake until it ended. And then you have Marsha come in and say, hey, you know, you guys are making a big mistake. And it's so important because maybe we have millennials who need to listen to Marsha, right? And Marsha has some valuable information. But then you also see that, you know, we're learning from Marsha, but then Marsha doesn't have complete information either, because Marsha is assuming, for example, that because she had men in her life that are teaching her these things, then the things that she learned are common knowledge with men. And now Marsha's learning that no, just because she had men in her life teaching her these things does not mean that most men know these things for themselves. Right. And so it's far from being a gender war, there are different perspectives that the genders can learn from each other. Definitely. Right. To the extent that we learn from each other, then we can all get on the same page.
I would like to add one thing as well.
Yeah.
There's a woman who mentioned that not all men are built to lead. Leadership is a lifetime. It is not something that people, even with all the education, schools, from military, from art of war, right? If you look at the most powerfulest men, it took them many years to actually gain the wisdom and knowledge to achieve what they need to achieve. We live in a world.
Military, I can say it's something you learn and something you practice.
Hold on right quick. Were you finished, James? I didn't
yeah. So what I was gonna say, like, through your process of development, right, from a boy all the way to a man, right, there are certain things that men go through, they have to evolve from, right, whether it's your environment or the surroundings of individuals that are around you, right. And the thing that I need to, and I want to make clear to sisters, is that what I notice being a millennial is that many times as I was growing up, many sisters already expected leadership at the age of 20, when most boys weren't even prepared for, you know what I mean, for college or high school. You know what I mean? The heavy weight that comes out of for a young black man is so difficult. And this is why you see a lot of young men like, all right, let me take care of her. Let me do this. Let me buy this. Let me take care of that. We're jumping into adulthood and not even establishing the you know what I mean, the equal boundaries of, like, okay, who are you? Who's your father? What, how do we establish a relationship? How do we grow together? And you're seeing, like, again, I grew up way too fast. And this is where a lot of chaos ends up in our community.
Absolutely. I totally agree that just being a natural leader is something that relatively very few men have. I think the vast majority of men can become good leaders, but just being a natural leader is something that's not commonplace. I totally agree. Give me 1 second. I think Chief Cook wanted to say something.
Okay.
I agree that what a guy or what a young man said, but the problem
and
is,
Chief Cook, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's your volume or how far you are from the thing, but it's difficult to understand what you're saying.
Yeah, sorry, my voice. My voice about to go out because allergy. But what you've got to mention is this. You talking about young women are leading because we have created a generation of women that have the house, women roles are getting better, and we don't have male roles in the house. And
that's not what I said, but
I'm talking about how. Okay, I'm a little bit older. I'll be 50 in 2 months. Now, in my generation, we did have male growing up. Y'all generation, y'all have women growing up, and they pass that on to their daughters and daughters. And since we are majority boys are raised by women, not all women know how to raise boys. They're not teaching these boys how to lead, how to be a man, or not going for, or find someone and say, look, I got a son. Can you help me raise my son? If you can't, if the baby daddy or the father's not doing their job, or not there, or something, or somebody else, that's the problem we having.
I disagree with that. I mean, I get your perspective.
Yeah.
And let me say why I disagree. The narrative that men are being, women are raising young men, which has always been there.
Yeah.
The situation that I see as a millennial is that once we're out of the house, right, we are faced with so many masculine challenges, right? And at the end of the day, you're dating a young woman who already has these crazy demands that most young men don't even understand. Like, I can tell you, going in high school, I already had my car, I was working, and next thing you know, my girl was like, oh, can you pick me up from work? Can you bring me food? Can you do this? Can you do that? We need to go shopping. We need to celebrate our anniversary. I was already I'm like 19, and I'm already programmed like I'm in a marriage.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's like what I'm saying. You need
No. Let me jump in, because it sounds like you're saying that Chief Cook. It sounds like that you're saying that's what you're saying. You're saying that it sounds like you're saying that you agree. But this is where the leadership comes in, guys. This what your girlfriend who's saying, hey, bring me Wendy's, and hey, take me to the mall, and hey, buy me this purse. Your girlfriend, James, is doing exactly what she's supposed to be doing, right? You cannot expect these people, whether it's men or women, to not try to maximize what they're getting. That's where your leadership comes in. Now you're saying, hey, I was 19. I didn't really know how to be a leader. That's fine. That's where you learn. You learn when you're 19. It's much better to learn when you're 19 than trying to learn this at 35. But you cannot expect women to just automatically ask for less because you don't know how to set boundaries. Right. And I'm not blaming you. But I'm getting energetic because this point is so important for young men. Do not expect women to ask for less. Right. What you need to do, and not you, James, but you young men, is to learn how to set your own boundaries. Right. Don't let a woman just treat you like a chauffeur.
You're absolutely right. I mean, interrupt, but I had the same. That's what I did. Like I said, I'm old school. I was even seeing someone. I did the same thing that your girlfriend said. I said, "Bring me this like that," and she looked at me like I'm crazy. I was talking to her like, couldn't do that. Like, no, can you bring me lunch? At the time, I'm working 2 jobs. And I missed lunch. I said, can you bring me lunch? Can you come over like this? And she looked like who are you telling me what like this? And the same thing that she was saying, that was actually she was doing. I said, no, it's the other way around.
Yeah, I mean, this is what Crooked 52:8 said. Follow your purpose and do not be afraid to lose her. And
Amen.
the first part is important, but the second part is even more important for leadership. Men, you have to accept that not all women are going to be on your program.
Right.
Period. Right. And so your leadership involves 2 things. Your leadership involves, number 1, knowing how to establish your program for the women who are going to be on it. And then number 2, learning which women are incapable of being on your program and getting them out. Get these people who are not on your program out. But this does not involve a woman asking for less or changing herself so that she can be on your program. The woman's going to be who she is. There's no man who's going to tell Monique from the Netflix, this super masculine woman, hey, you need to be more feminine, and then you can be on my program. It's not going to happen. Do not ever ask less of these women. Just find a woman who naturally, I already know, and I'm not ashamed to say this, I am not man enough to be in a relationship with Monique. This lady would run me to the ground. I'm not man enough. If I'm smart, I don't get in a relationship with Monique and tell her to dial her masculinity down. What I do is just find a more feminine woman, right? So that's kind of where I disagree with you, James. Let these women ask for whatever they want, and then you decide whether you want them on your program or not.
Hey, can I ask James a question?
Yes, sir.
Has she ever cooked you something to eat?
I mean, at the time, it was like
How many times have she cooked you something to eat?
I would say very few. I mean, honestly, this generation, a lot of women can't cook, man.
Exactly.
A lot of women can't cook, and I think one of the things is, and I understand where you guys are coming from, where we have to set our boundaries. I think what happens is that a lot of men who come from environments where they don't have fathers, they basically try to jolt to be that actual man because they don't want to experience what it's like not to have, you know what I'm saying? To be that masculine energy around a woman. If you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, you got a strong black woman been raised by another strong black woman, and a lot of them. And when you see a strong black and they don't want to see a strong black man, to step up and be the king because like I said, Queen Bee does not want to step down on that position, and that's the problem we have in society. You know, Queen Bee is this, Queen Bee is that. You know, look. No offense, since what like Steve Harvey always said, no, we gotta do what they say. She just it didn't go like that. It doesn't go. It doesn't go always like that. And a lot of sides today are pushing that, and that's why.
Yeah, I hear what you guys are saying. And it sounds like you're saying, hey, there's a lot of women who don't want to be on men's programs. A lot of women walking around with high masculinity.
And one last thing, I give a great example: the Cosby Show, the greatest show we all see when we was kids. What we always say, "Mom, Dad want me to do this. Mom, Dad want me to do that." Every day on Cosby Show, and that's how it is today.
Lead attorney, can I say something?
Absolutely, Marsha.
Okay, so first, let me start off by saying I did misstep a little bit when I said that that I'm making an assumption that all men should be leaders, because you're right. They're not taught to be, a lot of them are not taught to be leaders. That's fine. So I did misstep when I said that. Because I guess you could equally say that all women should know how to be submissive to men.
Great point.
That's true.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And but with that, I think a lot of women have an issue with that. That you always hear women talking about these men are not stepping up, they're not being leaders. I'm not going to be submissive to a man that can't be a leader. I think most women want to be led,
but they're afraid to say it. They're afraid to do it, and that's the problem.
Well, no, you know what they'll do if they don't see it or hear from the man, they're going to step in and do it.
Oh, they can hear from the man, but they don't say, "Well, who the hell are you? Tell me what to do."
But here's the thing, though. They wouldn't be saying that had you exercised. I'm gonna say this. I don't know what else to say. Your inherent manhood from the start.
I totally agree with Marsha. Like, I hear what you're saying, Chief Cook. You're saying, a lot of women are saying that they don't want to be in a relationship with a leader, or they don't want this, or they don't want that. But sometimes men can make let me tell you something, what I've learned personally and professionally. Men can go wrong by listening to what people say as to what as opposed to what they're really going to do. Right. A lot of times a woman will say what she ain't going to do, but you put her with the right man and she'll love to do the exact opposite.
Yep.
Right. And so, you can hear, you talk to Monique, and Monique will say, I'll never be in a relationship where I have to subjugate myself. I'll never be in a relationship where I need a leader. And you turn around and she's on some interview with her husband, calling him daddy, and yes, sir, this, and yes, sir, that.
Mm-hmm.
So men, don't make the mistake, Chief Cook, of always listening to what or women are saying. I know a lot of women are saying, hey, they don't want to be in relationships and be led. Okay, fine. But I agree with Marsha that if you put these ladies with the right man, you will see something totally different.
I agree.
It happens all the time.
I totally agree.
It happens all the time.
Yes, I think the problem, Chief Cook, is what you've got JD saying here, is that learning the women that are incapable of being on your program. Wise words have never been said. Some women can't follow a program, fine. And some women can follow a program. They just can't follow your program. They can follow a program.
Or they scared
but
for their
not
program.
your program. Monique can follow a program. She just can't follow the lead attorney's program. The lead attorney is too weak. The lead attorney is too weak for Monique. Okay, but there's a smooth black man who she calls him daddy every day.
But
Right.
you know why she does that though? You know why she does that? Because he ain't taking no stuff from her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he is not afraid to lose her.
No,
Right.
and you know what? And that's another thing I've seen on some of these YouTube channels where I've heard them say, well, guys should not be afraid to lose a woman. I'm telling you right now, fellas, I'm 51. If my hair was right, I'd be on camera right now. But because right now I look like the heat miser. But right, but I'm telling you right now, if you have to do that. Even if you didn't have a daddy, you have to do it. You cannot let a woman run all over you because she will do it. White, black, Hispanic, I don't care what color she is.
Yeah.
You cannot do that. If your woman won't cook for you, excuse my language, get rid of the bitch.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't really know necessarily like get rid of her well, here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. What we need to do is just talk and communicate our feelings. You know, women, any man knows this, any man in the chat knows this. Women do not have a problem communicating their feelings to you.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But we have we have our feelings, but we filter them. We filter them, right? And so, you know, I might date a woman and, you know, we're at a restaurant and she always makes sure to refill my glass. And I'm like, okay, that makes me feel like a king, right? So now we break up and I'm in the next relationship, but the girl doesn't know to refill my glass and I'm feeling a certain way about it, but I don't open my mouth. I'm just sitting there. I wish she would refill my glass, but I never talked to her.
But here's the thing. The reason why I said it is because if a woman that you're dating, you've been dating for a while, or even your wife don't want to cook for you, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Well,
do what you doing. She need to get out. She need to get out a cookbook. She need to go online because if she won't even cook for you, what else won't she do for you?
Well, I give you a great example right now. Steve Harvey said before he met Marjorie, he had 3 requirements. One of the requirements was somebody she had to cook. Now all of a sudden now you're famous. Now all of a sudden that's it's pretty be out of the door no more because you can't ask that woman that question no more. Because I seen guys on this show coming to the show, they hook up and they ask the question. You look at you and protect the one question. You just said that 3 years ago when you first in the get go.
Well, there's something that Steve Harvey didn't do to keep that going because if he told her, I got 3 requirements, one of them is for you to cook, and she got in because she wanted to get in, that's how I got to get into this man, so I'm going to start cooking for him, and then she just fell off, that's a problem. He didn't keep that going. That's his fault.
Yeah. But you telling all these women now you're famous now. You tell you don't gotta cook no more. This and this like that. Like, excuse me, you just said that a couple years ago. How come you're not telling these women who come on your show on your radio? Those you got required. Why did the woman always had a requirement? You don't have a requirement. You never hear him say what is his requirements?
Oh, because he did not continue that on. If y'all give a woman too much leeway, she gonna take advantage of it.
Right.
I'm not saying be a dictator. I'm not saying being a dictator, slap her around, nothing like that. I'm saying in the beginning, y'all have to establish these things.
Yeah.
Well,
these
totally
days,
true.
and I'm telling you right now, these women these days, even the old school women like myself, to me, most of them are too far gone to even listen to y'all.
Oh yeah, you absolutely right. You absolutely right. I was seeing someone and she gave me an ultimatum. I want to be married by some kind. You got like, who you talking to? You don't get no requirement. No, we ain't past 6 months yet. We ain't like that.
Well, with that right there, that's not a big deal because when is she supposed to bring it up?
Yeah.
If you ain't bringing it up.
No, after we get down the line, talking about before we get serious or down a year. No, it ain't been a year yet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But
because you know what, a lot of men don't be thinking about it like that. They just figure they got them a woman, they dating her.
Yeah, that's true.
And a lot of men don't even bring that subject up. So if we don't bring it up, who's gonna bring it up sometimes? Okay, lead attorney, go ahead.
Go ahead,
No,
Attorney.
no, you're right. I'm just listening. We got a comment here from ROJ. She says, "Listen, and it kind of this is actually what I was thinking while we were talking about this. So I'm glad this question was asked. Is a woman's cooking equivalent to a man's paycheck? Why get rid of a female if she's not cooking? What if the male likes to cook? Females brought in males and females." I'm not sure what that last one means, but it does seem like we were on the panel. We were maybe overemphasizing the cooking aspect of it. Really, cooking can be, you can replace anything with cooking. But I think a lot of men do like to eat, right? And so maybe that's why we were talking about cooking so much.
We always say,
metaphorically.
Yeah,
right.
It can be used as a metaphor for something else.
Totally agree. Totally.
Now, I'm not
agree.
trying to be. I'm not trying to be bad soldiers, but the biggest thing we always say is the wife will be able to, at least be able to cook and clean. Especially if she don't be a stay-at-home housewife. And the problem we having is a lot of these so-called housewives are not exactly housewives.
Right.
They get
but
married.
You know what? But even if, one thing you don't have to keep clarifying is you don't have to. I don't want to be a male chauvinist. That ain't even the subject. You just trying to be a man that wants a woman to do the right thing by her, and you trying to do the right thing by her, or do the right thing by you, and you do the right thing by her. It ain't got nothing to do with this chauvinistic, feministic, all this old nonsense.
Yeah, okay. I agree.
You're a man, she's a woman. Let's go.
Yeah.
Well, let me add this too, and I just saw the comment, lead attorney.
Yeah. You're talking about this, Miss Shannon. She says, "Not everyone will lay on her back for 6 months a year." That's got no. I don't know what even this means. I put it up because I thought it was funny.
Yeah, I laughed as well. So let me. I'm gonna address this to Miss Shannon. If you get pregnant, there's a huge responsibility that relies on that man to make sure things are functioning at the same level before you were pregnant, which actually puts more stress on the man because now he has to concern about your emotions, your hormones, the child. All these things come huge. And to say that things gotten old, it's never changed. Because if you want a man to be responsible and you choose to bear a child with him, right? Like that's what he has to be built for to do. Because at the end of the day, no man wants to see a woman, homeless, his child suffering, a man of, integrity. So, this goes back to why I say seeing these old narratives, it's just very disturbing because no one's saying it's, like a woman has to lay on her back. I mean,
right.
I don't understand that. And it's disturbing to see these type of comments because if we're both adults, we're all adults here. We know at the end of the day, someone may catch cancer. My wife, may have a rare disease. Those dynamics are very real in marriages. And do you want somebody to be there that's very supportive, that's going to ride it out with you? Because I've heard the horror stories of men and women who've had, one of my friends, she had breast cancer and her significant other was messing around. I knew another brother who had a heart attack. He had a triple bypass. That woman thought he was going to die. She was like, well, let me get this divorce ready.
I was saying that, oh God, I heard stories like that so many times.
You know what I mean? So, yeah. This is where, again, I'm addressing Ms. Shannon. I hope you understand what you're saying is very minute compared to the bigger picture that couples and marriages face as they get older. You have health complications, and you need to know if that person is going to be there through thick and thin, because no one knows what the future lies health-wise.
Can I say something about this gentleman's comment about Miss Shannon?
Absolutely.
Her comment, I understood what she meant. She's saying that not everyone will lay on her back for 6 months a year without having marriage. That's what she's talking about. Because a lot of times, women will be with men and they'll be like talking about marriage and things like that, and they hold a woman off. They don't get married because a lot of times they really don't want to marry that particular woman. So that's what she means. Like, not every woman will lay on her back for 6 months a year waiting on y'all to marry her. That's what she meant.
Gotcha. And I think this is something that a lot of guys underestimate how many bad guys there are out there. You know, you hear in the red pill and this manosphere, you know, all women are this, all women are that, but you don't hear about the bad guys. And I see these bad guys, number one, because I represent them, right? But then also I represent a lot of times I represent their wives, right? Mm-hmm. And a guy will string a woman along for years and then end up marrying somebody else. And this happens, guys, all the time, but you don't ever hear about it. You know, the women hear about it. You know, Derrick Jackson's talking about it, but no one's talking about on our side how these Pookies and Ray Rays are dealing with women. And it's terrible, right? It's terrible. So I understand if what you're saying is true, Marcia, and this is the comment that Miss Shannon is making. I think you're absolutely right that women need to have a clock, and they need to say, listen, guy, you know, when men stringing women along is a thing. All right, it exists. And so, you know, we're gonna, you know, I'm gonna do, you know, put out a little bit for you here and there, but I need to see some commitment because, you know, I got a limited time schedule. Women, you know, guys don't really operate on time like women do.
Nope.
But lead attorney.
Yes, sir.
But doesn't this speak exactly to the point of what I think Kevin Samuel speaks about often on his channel, is that women, you need to date with intention. Stop these 2-year, 6-year, 8-year relationships, just burning up your prime years, and date with intention. Have a purpose. Vet these people, you know, vet them and stop wasting time, because you don't have time to burn. Men have a much longer window than they do. So stop dating just for the sake of dating, but really ask these pertinent questions and look at these guys that you're choosing to date. Maybe it's your picker is just wrong. It's bad, and you need to improve things. What are you using to measure these guys, or to determine whether or not you're going to give your time and attention to? And vice versa.
Well, look at how much that paycheck is.
Totally agree. You know, I don't ever have a problem with women, you know, asking men, you know, hey, well, where is this going? Right. A lot of men do not want to hear that question. Right. Where is this going? But from a woman's perspective, I think you're exactly right, C.L. Curtin. Like, women need to know, because a lot of times, you know, men can get strung along in relationships and men can get run over in relationships, but women can get run over in relationships too. A woman can look up and 6 years have gone by and she's not even engaged yet. Right?
Lead attorney, can I tell you a quick story?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I'm one of those women. I didn't
want to say it, but you had told us. I didn't want to say it.
Please, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that you had told us that you know, from your story that, you know, you had married, you were with a guy, and then he asked you to get engaged, and, you know, you said, okay, so now we're engaged, and you start asking him about the plans, and he starts flipping out. And so it looked like, you know, he wanted to give you an engagement to kind of pacify you. But then when you ask him for the next step, you say, okay, like, are we putting a deposit down on the venue? When are we getting the napkins designed? Now he starts flipping out. And so now it starts to look like a game. Absolutely. Go ahead.
Well, you know what? Well, the thing about it is that I was with him from the age of 24 to 31.
Mm-hmm.
So
wow, a long time.
Yeah, 8.5 years. And like I said, a year into a relationship, I was like, hey, you know, and I already told you that part. So after a year, like I said, after 1995, I never brought it up again, because I said, I want my man to lead us. Because that's what he was supposed to do. I'm not going to badger him. I'm not going to show him wedding gowns. I'm not going to bring it up. Nothing. Because that's just not my style. Because I expected him to lead. And I saw that he was kind of a leader because he took care of his mother up until she passed away. He always looked after his family. So to me, he was a leader. So when the gentleman in the chat was saying women should vet these men, I thought I was vetting him because I saw him as a leader. He was real chill dude. We talked about a lot of stuff in the beginning, and it was just fine. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then again, you know, it just didn't work out like that. And I was with him for 8.5 years. I expected him to lead after that point, and he never did.
Gotcha. I totally understand where you're coming from, and let me tell you this, because I think you're dropping some knowledge in the chat that a lot of men need to know. I certainly could have used what you were saying, maybe 20 years ago, when you're like, hey, you really have to lead in your relationship and set boundaries. It's so true. But and you can see that from the female perspective, and it's information that a lot of men need to hear. And it's so good that you're on here, because we men, we can kind of hear your perspective as well, and we have some information for you and your gender. And I will tell any woman that yes, men, a lot of times it's super beneficial that they lead the relationship, but a woman needs to be a leader in terms of the marriage, in terms of not the marriage, but the wedding. The wedding. A woman needs to, if a woman sits back and allows the man to lead in terms of when the wedding date is, 20 years will pass. 20 years will pass a lot of these times before before an engagement. Not all the time, but many times a man kind of has to be led to the altar. Now, men who are led to the altar, a lot of times it's not in their best interest, right? But at the end of the day, a lot of times men's interests and women's interests are opposing, right? They're not necessarily on the same thing, on the same plane. So if a woman, if you're 27 or 34 or 36 and you've been in a relationship for 3 years, do not look at the man to lead in terms of the wedding date. That is one thing that a lot of women, from their perspective, it's not going to really be from the man's perspective, but just from a woman's perspective, women might want to jump in on that, because a man will definitely string a woman along.
I can agree with some of that what you said, but also there's fear in marriage, because we all heard her story, horror stories, and I know you being an attorney, I know you heard a lot of horror stories. As soon as they get that ring, they all do a 380 on them. Every man afraid of the D word. We all know what that is, and just I think, especially to today's society, it's different now. It's different what it was 20 years ago. They look at most women don't look at marriage. No financial. No. They want the Barbie doll, big wedding, and 12 bridesmaids, and he got me. He won't take care of me, but excuse me, take care of me. But like guys, seeing, we all hearing that stories. We all heard a story about that. I'm trying to remember that guy named, that basketball player who was on YouTube a couple of years ago, made famous. He told the girl, no, sign prenup. And
Stephen Jackson.
Yeah, he's talking about get married. I'm gonna sign as soon as I get wedding. She heard him trying to get the wedding thing so he can sign a prenup, and they did. We all heard that story, and that's the problem. It just
well, you know what? Honestly, it's not really a problem. It's not really a problem, because he did the absolute right thing by getting rid of her.
Marsha just took the words exactly out of my mouth. It was not a problem at all.
Yeah.
Because this man knew how to set his own boundaries. Right? It was not a problem at all.
I agree. Nope. I'm just saying that some men
this man knew what his game plan entailed. And he found out that the woman didn't want to be on his game plan, and that's fine. We're not getting married. The wedding's off.
Yep.
So it's not a problem at all. It's only a problem for men when men do not know how to set their boundaries. That's the problem. Right. Yeah. And that's what Marsha's been saying from the beginning. Guys, we need to have our own plan. We need to have our own program.
Right.
Period. And
it really makes me mad that a lot of men are not like this. It really makes me mad, because I'm like, and I understand what you're saying, lead attorney. A lot of guys haven't been taught to be a leader, but it makes me mad hearing these same stories about how these dudes are getting screwed around their divorces, their marriages, and all that kind of. It makes me mad.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's a lot of information that guys need and they don't have. Now, I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of information that women need and they don't have it either, right?
True.
But so we're all just people, and we all are operating off incomplete information. And that's why I love the fact that we're having this chat on here. I love the fact that you're here, Marshall. Not a lot of women want to join in, but we got you. You're giving us a very important a very important perspective here. Very important.
Well,
You
they
know,
need
have
to
a
know.
question
These
for
men need to. These men need to know. I mean, it's just, to me, it's just it's hurtful. It's hurtful on both sides because, like I said, I don't jump on men's side. I don't jump on women's side. I'm like, look, I'm for the truth.
right.
I'm for accountability. Women take responsibility. Men take responsibility. Quit jacking each other around and let's do this thing. What's the problem? It ain't that hard.
Well,
Absolutely
like I
Sorry,
right.
said
go ahead.
before,
Go ahead.
I
I
agree.
have a
I
question.
agree with what you said, but like I said, I think a lot of men scared to jump in the room because they heard these stories. They're not, and plus they have not been raised in a good relationship because they've been raised by a single mother or their mom. And they see how they go on. No, mom married about 2 or 3 times and see what she goes to, and they think, well, if I get married, that might happen to me, and stuff like that. It is a scary picture. We not seeing, it's hard seeing a good picture of a good relationship anywhere in the family. How many times you been to a marriage? I mean, been to a wedding. I'm sorry, you been to a wedding. I mean,
To me,
yeah, all of us. I mean, go for all of us. How many times have we all been to weddings? Even years. It's just people.
I mean, I
Especially in
can.
the black community.
Yeah. What do you think, James?
Well, I mean, as a millennial, I could tell you that more people. I know more millennials are getting married now, um, and a lot of that is because I think a lot of millennials are looking at what happened with their parents and like, we don't want to repeat that. And I'm only speaking from my side, my perspective, because I have a large family. We are conservative, and marriages has always been an ecosystem, right? It was always breeded in our family, and some of that ties to because I'm Haitian, and Haitians have a very strong appetite to say no. You have to have a wife, child, and so on and so forth, right? So that's always been a strong figurehead. But I think now the dynamic that we're seeing is you're seeing parts of millennials are looking at, the things ahead, and they're like, okay, we live in a system where either we build this or we don't, right? And I think depending on the regional areas that you're in America, like I'm from New England area, right? There are more blacks who get married here for the simple fact of the economical struggles that you have to overcome, right? And these things make us be like, all right, look at, how are we going to establish this? How are we going to make our children get to a certain level education and acquire certain wealth and all these things? And I think also social media has played a big role. YouTube has opened a huge dynamic because now these conversations have to be had.
Right.
So you're having this huge divergence, right? Where you have men and women are like, I don't want to be associated with this because this has gotten too out of control. Because now they can actually see it and see the detriment it really has long term. Versus before, you just had candid conversations, and you're like, oh well, yeah, this is going to change, but then these narratives are still there. But now, since all of us are seeing this, I think there's a huge shift that are moving along. Granted, you still have, one side that says, I don't want to do this, one side that says, I don't want to do that. But I think the most important thing is that there's a lot more transparency. And then obviously, Lead Attorney, you coming on, many other people coming on, people are actually not afraid to have this discussion and the world see. So now we're interconnected in a different way. We're like, okay, this dynamic has to change. So, that's the way I see things. I know, especially as a millennial, and then looking at the younger generation, right? With I think Gen Z's, which that's a whole, they're doing a whole different type of thing, but that's just evolution itself. You're gonna have some generations that are gonna hold on to things, right? Because they realize the importance of it, and then some may stray away. The next generation, I think it's just recycles all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree, and it's glad to hear from, like you're saying, millennials and young people are using the resources that are available now. Certainly, when me and the Steel Curtain were coming up, and Marsha, there wasn't any internet or anything like that. We had to kind of learn on our own, and a lot of us learned some very important information. But now with the internet and YouTube, like you were saying, there's a lot of information out there. So hopefully we'll keep having discussions like this, and more people will keep learning. You know, not on any gender wars type of thing, but we're just learning from one another. Everybody's got a different perspective, and I think us coming together will really help us out. Let me shout out one quick super chat. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Flex ALD. I really appreciate it. Guys, we've been going for 3 hours now. 3 hours now. So
oh, come on, Lead Attorney. Let's try for 10.
I know. It's 11:40. It's 11:45.
We're going longer than Kevin Samuels show.
I think we're gonna call it a night, but I really appreciate all you guys.
Can anybody hear me?
I'm sorry.
Yes,
I really just appreciate all of you guys that are here in the chat. The people that are here in the room and who shared their perspective, shared their wisdom with us, and hopefully we will grow. Not hopefully, we're definitely going to do this again. I think this has been informative, and hopefully a lot of the young people that see this, they will pick up some wise and important advice, and it's just good for us to talk and try to get on the same page. So thank you guys so much. I'm going to
make a suggestion?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, since it's not the end of the month and this is the first time I see that open panel, maybe you should think about this in down the line throughout your channel, you know, if possible. You know.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to do a lot more of this. It really takes the burden off me. You know, I can sit back and sip my coffee and let you guys talk. Don't make me do all the work, guys. Don't make me do all the work. So
one last thing,
we're definitely going to do this more. I have enjoyed this, and I really appreciate Marsha for being brave and coming on here. I know we got some women in the chat too, but I think we've got a different perspective now that we have Marsha here.
Thank you.
Lead Attorney, can I say can I say a couple things real quick?
Yeah, but listen now, I'm trying to shut it down. So, but yeah,
I know. I'm trying to take you to 8 hours. Okay, so
right.
no, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding.
Right.
No, but my last thought is, fellas, stand up for yourself. Now, today, there are no excuses.
Yeah, I don't want to say that there are no excuses, but there are less excuses. And to the extent that we keep having these conversations, they're going to be less and less. So I don't ever want to blame anybody for not having the information that they need. I just want to keep pushing the information out so that more people get it. So thank you guys. Thank all the super chats, all the people that commented. Thank you, of course, to Gail, my number one. Really appreciate Gail. Thank you for moderating, and all the other moderators to the extent that we had some in here.
And Lead Attorney, yes, my name Marsha means brave and courage.
Okay, perfect. I love that. I love that. All right, so listen, I'm gonna shut it off now, but thank you guys so much. I'm gonna push out some more content. Really appreciate it. Y'all have a good evening. All right.
You too.
Thank you guys for everything. Really appreciate it.